Good afternoon. We have quorum. Thank you for waiting. We'll get things started while people are getting settled. Good afternoon. My name is Councillor Shelley Carroll, and I'm the chair of the Budget Committee. We do have a full quorum of our subcommittee, so I'll call this meeting formally to order. Welcome, everyone. First, of course, I want to do the land acknowledgement on our behalf. Although we may be meeting in different locations today, the Budget Committee would like to acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I also want to make, on behalf of my colleagues here, an African ancestral acknowledgement. Though I'm not a person of African descent, I am committed to continually acting in support of and in solidarity with Black communities seeking freedom and reparative justice in light of the history and the ongoing legacy of slavery that continues to impact Black communities in Canada. As part of this commitment, I would also like to acknowledge that not all people came to these lands as migrants and settlers. Specifically, I wish to acknowledge those of us who came here involuntarily, particularly those brought to these lands as a result of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. In support of the City of Toronto's ongoing efforts to confront anti-Black racism, we pay tribute to those ancestors of African origin and descent. Now, if you see that on social media, you'll note later on that it will be slowed down using digital means. That's generally how that works. I digress. Today's meeting is being held in person in the council chamber at Scarborough Civic Centre. Members of the public who are registered to speak are in the room with us, but also can participate by video conference. This meeting is being live streamed, and you can find that link on toronto.ca/council. First of all, are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act amongst the members? Seeing none, we can proceed with the meeting then. Today in the chambers, we're having a subcommittee meeting of the Budget Committee. Councillor Zuli Chang, Councillor Myers, and myself are members of one of two budget subcommittees that have been established to hear the public presentations. Our City Council colleagues, Councillor Perks, Councillor Moyse, and Councillor Amber Morley are meeting right now at Etobicoke Civic Centre to hear public presentations on the budget. We have 5 speakers signed up to speak at our 3 meetings today. That can't be right. It was, yes, that's a typo. It's 56. Wait a minute, there's way more than 5 right now. We have 56 members signed up to speak at our 3 meetings today at Scarborough Civic Centre, plus another 26 that are registered to speak over at Etobicoke Civic Centre. I want to thank everyone who is registered to speak to the Budget Committee today. For those who are speaking, let's go over quickly how the process works. We have speakers in person and online. If you are online right now, the video conference host will activate your microphone and you can turn on your video if you'd like so that we can see you in the council chamber when you speak. I'll call each name on the list in order and you'll have 5 minutes to speak to the Budget Committee. After you speak, if you're in the chamber, stay with us at the podium because I'll ask members if they have any questions of you. If you're online, stay on the line and we'll ask questions virtually. After any questions that may come from the committee, you're welcome to stay in the chamber and listen to the rest of the session that runs till 4:30 today. And you may also, if you're virtual, after you've finished your call, you can continue to watch the meeting on the YouTube link. The clerk is receiving also emails and communications from the public about the 2026 budget. Those communications are made available to members right away on the clerk's meeting portal. We call it the CMP, if you ever hear us referring to that. So we encourage those written submissions. I encourage the public to send their comments to the Budget Committee at any point during the process, because ultimately all councillors will see those written submissions. It'll be attached to their agenda when they're voting February 10th. So by all means, even if you've spoken, you can follow up with written submissions, and those should go to buc@toronto.ca. You can find that address on the City Budget 2026 page at the city's website. This is the public's opportunity to speak about the budget. This is also our opportunity to consider your comments and all the input before we make our recommendations to the mayor. That'll be in the budget wrap up on Friday. We appreciate you taking the time to participate in the budget process. So let's start. We have a long list for this afternoon session. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the names 3 at a time so that you know where you are in the order and can sort of prepare to be going next. And we'll keep track of it together. Our first one is a virtual presentation from John Amor. Then I have Gabriel Ermitanger, who I'm not sure if I'm even pronouncing that right, but we'll clear that up. James Golding, and then I have Deb Ramsawak after that. So we'll start with John Amor, which is a video conference presentation. Are they ready? Oh, they're not online yet, so I'll try again because we are right off the top here. Is Gabriel ready to speak? Oh, join us, won't you? Yeah. That's right. Yeah. And as you're first, you may have to turn on the microphone there. You may have to push the button to make the microphone live.
Okay, testing, testing.
Try again. Oh.
It's red now.
Yeah, that's a little better, but I will say this, the microphone is set a little quiet. So even though you're now mic'd, you still have to keep your voice up.
Okay, how's that?
Little better. Are we,
Better?
is there any way we can turn the mic up a bit? Okay, he's doing it. There you go.
Okay, testing, testing. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is better. Thank you. Yes. Okay. Go ahead when you're ready.
Okay, hello, Toronto City Budget Committee, Chair Shelley Carroll. My name is Gabriel Ermitinger, and I'm from the Scarborough Southwest Ward. My concern is about the relocation of individuals of the homeless encampment that was at 103 Bellevue Avenue, Church of the St. Stephen in the Fields on October 16th, 2025. My concern is where these individuals go and where are they now? I'm a volunteer with the MAC Committee Drop-In Corner TNGSC neighborhood group 260 Augusta in Kensington Market. And I'm asking the City Budget Committee to ensure there's ongoing funding to provide supportive and not cohesive support for people who are in homeless encampments, so they have a chance to recover, heal, and stay off the streets. Originally, I had heard about the encampment removal via the news. I was sad, but yet helpful, for these people as they often visit the drop-in on a regular daily basis. So I thought the relocation of these men and women at this homeless cabin, that getting them help was better than suffering under cold winter cement. So about one afternoon, about 2 months afterwards, I was walking to a MAC committee when I noticed that the church corner lot was now checkered with concrete blocks, basically. And many of these same clients I have not seen since. And so during that MAC meeting, it dawned on me, where are those clients now? Where were they taken to? Are they getting proper service? Are they housed? I'm concerned because I had lost 3 brothers to addiction, homelessness, I guess, not that long ago. And at times they were hard to find when I decided to look for them. They had lived that nomadic lifestyle chasing drugs, and unfortunately they succumbed to drugs and that lifestyle. So all those feelings came back, towards those losses, and so then I wondered, well, what happened to these people on that church corner? Are they getting help, appropriate help? So in conclusion, I recommend the City Budget Committee to provide a community-based approach, to help people encampments, I guess, with increased funding for services, support, and housing. I also believe that the city and its communities can help support these people by giving them the confidence, to advocate for themselves. Recently in Montreal, I guess the hockey arena there hired the homeless to bag trash from event seats. This provided confidence and hope to them, and it showed when they spoke to the media. They were smiling, they were happy. So, in my opinion, it let them know that somebody cared about them, and that goes a long way when you're kind of homeless and by yourself on the streets and no one around really. I can vouch for that, been there. Okay, so these people, homeless and vulnerable, they're somebody's, brother, sister, son, family or friend, and so I urge you to help these people and help them stay off the streets. And I would like to thank the City Budget Committee for giving me the opportunity to speak today and for taking action on this issue. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions of the deputy? Okay, Mr. Ermitinger, we'll take your concerns back. Well, Budget Committee doesn't make policy. The council makes policy through the year and then we develop the budget around it.
Okay.
I can give you, I hope, some comfort in that the current policy of council is that we casework people out of encampments. We don't just clear the encampment. We work to find housing situations or shelter situations for them. But I appreciate your concern because sometimes the encampment forms near a support thing like St. Stephen's because that's their preferred place. If they can get inside, that's where they want to get inside too. But it often we have to offer different locations. So we'll, as Budget Committee, take back that is a concern, and that and that giving people a way of finding out where they went is really important for you to make sure that they are getting the kind of sympathetic casework they need. We'll let them know.
Okay. I just wanted to say that it was a weird coincidence for me. Anyways, actually, I noticed that the 260 Augusta was just right around the corner from the encampment, and I get a feeling there's probably more situations like that. And yeah, I just wanted to point that out and hopefully
Yes.
we can get help.
Well, this budget is building more shelter capacity, but it will be distributed throughout the city, not necessarily in that immediate location, because that Southwest Scarborough actually has really contributed a lot for us to be able to locate shelters. So likely others will be further afield. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for coming today. Yeah. Okay. Is James Golding here? James Golding, come on down. While you're coming down, I have Deb Ramsawak next, and then Daryl Brown, and then Karishma Manji. Okay. Mr. Golding, welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is James Golding. I'm here to address the pressures of the automated speed enforcement cameras, the TTC, refugee and asylum seeker funding. But first, I just want to mention that I've been sending proposals to the government. I asked for a response of something, 15 proposals, 10 built-in proposals, not one response from anybody in this government. I find it very, very interesting that you want to hear our ideas, but they don't apply. The most important part of my presentation is going to be the pressures. The pressures seem to be artificial. Let me explain. The automated speed enforcement cameras is a program that no longer exists. It cannot generate or receive or lose funding. ASC never funded crossing guards. Taxes were always the primary source. ASC revenue may have offset the costs, but it wasn't that direct funding. If property tax levies 35.1 million, or sorry, if the fees were offset 35.1 million, the mayor is now asking for 99 million. That's $63.9 million for a program that doesn't exist. Clearly, essentially what taxpayers are being told is that taxpayers now have to pay their fines even though the program's banned. Everybody in the city is getting fined. $99 million. Where's the taxes going to go that we're covering the ASC cameras and Vision Zero? Where's the taxes going to go? Nobody knows. Secondly, the TTC shortfall. It wasn't unpredictable. TTC foreseen this. More service hours, more kilometers, wasted funding. TTC's riding buses out of service all day, every day. Short-term buses have been turned into constant out-of-service buses. Wasting kilometers, wasting hundreds of millions of dollars in funds. And 2027 is set up for a shortfall. 9.9 million service hours, 264 million kilometers with less riders. It doesn't make sense. You're just setting up for a shortfall. In my opinion, that shortfall is just create more funding for TTC. TTC should be denied that funding immediately. Lastly, I'm here to address refugee funding. In 2024, the City of Toronto taxed the city 6% for refugee-related sheltering costs. It was approved. The city explicitly treated these costs as non-reimbursable. That's very important. Now the city wants $109 million for a non-reimbursable tax levy. I haven't seen one iota of a document in council, in the budget, in any motion, any council chamber. There is nothing to confirm that reimbursements of taxpayer dollars are being received by council. You just took them. You're taking reimbursements, and why? They're not reimbursable funds. Mayor Chow said she went into the reserves to take funding to support refugees because of this shortfall. It was a fictional shortfall. You put $300 million into the budget that was guaranteed reimbursements. IHAP is not guaranteed, it's not receivable, it's not reimbursable, and taxpayers should not have to ever pay for a tax that they've already paid. Essentially, what you said to taxpayers is, hey, you paid me $250 million. We're collecting a reimbursement, even though we're not entitled to it. We spent money from reserves, which the reserve for refugees was untouched. 266.22 million was put into it. The only reserve that was touched was OW and Ontario Disability Support. I can't find any confirmation that that was approved by council. Essentially, what you're saying is, we taxed you, we spent the money, we got a reimbursement, we got denied a reimbursement, and we're gonna tax you for that reimbursement. This is not how taxes work. It's unbelievable that this city would take funding from taxpayers, get reimbursements, use it on refugees instead of helping them, and then come back and say, screw you, and you're gonna pay for more. I asked this council to adamantly deny all pressures by the mayor. If you want to
Mr.
protect
Golding,
taxpayers,
Mr.
this is the
Golding,
time
you're
to do
at
it.
5 minutes. You're at the 5.
This is the
minute
time to
mark.
protect taxpayers. If you don't do it, I will run for mayor and do it for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Golding. Okay, is Deb Ramsawak here? Let's see, I have Daryl Brown is next. Yes, join us down there. While you're coming down, Mr. Brown, I have Karishma Manji after that. Let's see them. Alice Lee is virtual, and then Derek Moran. Okay.
I do have a presentation, so.
Oh,
just to-
okay,
I could-
we can accommodate that.
Is it possible just to plug it in?
Yeah,
whenever?
someone coming down to make sure to goes without a hitch.
Okay, great, thanks.
And I understand now, Mr. Ramsawak is virtual, so we'll go to him next after Mr. Brown speaks.
Yeah. It's going to come up on the screen. Oh, there we go. Great.
There you go. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Brown.
Okay, so first of all, I should say that I can't possibly cover all the slides in 5 minutes, but I'll speak to the main points and I'll provide materials to you. This is kind of looking at this from a short-term, medium
Hang
term.
on a sec. I'm going to stop your time because we lost it again.
Oh, okay.
Oops.
Okay, we're there.
It's back up.
Let's back up. Let's see. Okay.
Okay, so
Yep.
we'll start your time here. There you go.
This is looking at the current budget and some medium-term and longer-term considerations. Basically, this is a managed austerity budget. As you know, there's the structural pressure. There's a reliance on reserves and the deferral of some infrastructure requirements, which is problematic. It's really managed decline. There is a growth paradox, given that we're reliant on mostly on property taxes at this point, and we have to find alternatives. But there's also a blind spot, and there's a transparency problem, and I will get into that a little bit more. And that is that there's a lack of ward level data, which really prevents individual constituents from being able to look at return on investment in an effective way. So what I'd like to suggest is that there are some, I think, alternative forms of financing that should be more aggressively explored. One is tax increment financing, and I'm sure staff have looked at this over time. There is an existing act, the 2006 Act, that doesn't have regulations enacted, but it could be quite substantial in contributing to infrastructure development. And of course, we need growth revenue. And I know that there's discussions with the provincial government, but we don't really know what's being prioritized, or at least I don't. I think we have to enforce greater transparency. That's mandating ward level spending reports, and also ending the secrecy in contracts. And what I mean by that is our provincial freedom of information, which runs down to the municipality, is problematic in that we don't get sufficient detail. There are other jurisdictions that provide full disclosure on any public sector contract, and we should have that so we can evaluate things more effectively. It's great that we've got an upgrade in our credit rating, but an upgrade in the credit rating doesn't really relate to service level. You can have a crumbling infrastructure and have a wonderful credit rating. It's an improvement, and there are some political wins, and I won't get into those details now, so I can talk to more core issues. First of all, the transparency void. I've got graphics of New York and Chicago and how they distribute information in their budget process. And you can see that at a constituency level, you're able to assess what's being allocated where. I also have a graphic of Toronto, and there's basically no data. You have, we cannot see revenue allocations by ward. We can't see return on taxpayer dollar by constituency, and we can't assess capital investment distributions over the relative districts. This is a defect that really should be corrected. The other transparency void I just referred to is vendor contracts. We should see the terms. We should see the performance metrics. We can't see that now because what's used to exempt contracts is business confidentiality. There should be no business confidentiality. By comparison, if you look at the UK, you look at New Zealand, you look at Quebec, you look at Vancouver, they're publishing contracts and you can see the full terms and you know what the full deal is. And what the experience has shown is that transparency encourages competition. It does not deter it. So I think we can do a better job in terms of the transparency side of things. Now, I've put together a little matrix. So, you know, we've got quick wins with the the land transfer tax and the vacant home tax. But what we really need to do is find stronger sources of revenue. And I've got what's called the sleeping giant, the tax increment financing, which I'll speak to in a moment. And the holy grail is to get growth revenue access, which we don't have at this point. If we look at tax increment financing, I don't know if everybody understands how this works, but what you do is you freeze the base tax level at the current level. You identify areas, typically it's associated with transit in a lot of jurisdictions. So you define TIF districts around a new transit area. You invest in public infrastructure, which also incentivizes more private sector development. And you take the incremental increase in the property value because of that development, and that's used as security against the issuance of bonds to finance the public infrastructure. In Chicago, they are generating $660 million a year in tax increment financing. That's 1/3 of their property tax base. New York City just did the same thing to finance infrastructure around one of their newer transit locations. Now, what does it mean in terms of potential? $3.6 billion. If we just focus on the transit areas, there's two examples right here on the Ontario line and the Portlands. If we were to focus on tax increment financing, you could generate, and you can add the other two, the LRTs to this, as I say, $3.6 billion in revenue, and it would be direct investment rather than what's being done today with the city in a similar but not aggressive enough program. The other thing, and I know I'm at time, is to look at expanding the debenture program to focus on climate infrastructure. We've done a great job so far since the Green Debenture Program was launched, but we can do better. So I will provide this information. The other thing is, of course, growth-linked revenue. It requires provincial agreement. The argument that we should be using it, these are fair substitutes that reduce pressure on a regressive property tax system, not viewed as a supplemental tax. And we need to convince the provincial government to enable growth revenue, because that will allow us to have growth and sustainability rather than decline in this city. So I'll provide the materials.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
I figured you might be getting close to the end, so
Yeah.
I gave you a few extra seconds there. Are there any questions, Councillor Chang?
Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Well, I think that I haven't heard of strong arguments for the use of TIF, and I don't know why. Because we've got the law in place. It's a bit of a different story than having to get a buy-in for a 1% sales tax or a 1% income tax, because that requires full legislation. The legislation's already in place, just needs regulations. And I know that there's an issue with, school board revenues and how that trade-off works. But I don't know, perhaps you can fill us in as to whether there's been discussions behind closed doors on this, because this is a substantial source. And what's happening now in the city is you do have a tax increment equivalent grant program, but it's only $5 to $7 million. We're talking about billions that could be generated if we effectively implement this.
My second question is with regard to provincial advocacy, because as you have noted, some of these very important and powerful tools that could change the fiscal framework of our city, we don't have that authority. And so do you have any ideas of, how we can convince our provincial government to make this part of a New Deal 2.0?
Well, I think part of the problem is, I think there's an affinity with some members of the provincial government to favor directly assisting, development companies, let's say. So when you look at something like the tax incentive equivalent program, that's a direct payment to developers. Whereas you look at TIF and you're making a direct investment in the infrastructure itself. We have to lobby, I think, several areas of government, from infrastructure to finance, as to the need to promote sustainable growth. Because we're not promoting sustainable growth right now in this city. We're as you know, we're kind of treading water, and if it's going to take us 10 years just to address those issues, the 1.1 billion that are effectively federal and provincial jurisdiction programs, that's a real problem. I think we need to have individuals speaking to government and advocating and saying that they support this. And we need to have as many NGOs voicing support as well. But we also need to know what the priority is from the council and the mayor in terms of negotiation. Personally, if we're going to go with a growth revenue model, I'd like to see a 1% income tax. Why? Because it's not regressive. A sales tax is regressive to the extent of low income paying the same amount as a high income person. The advantage of the sales tax is, though, it's estimated that you get $90 million for people that are just visiting the city. So you get a significant portion of payment from people that aren't in the city. But ideally, if we could get a 1% share of income tax, you're looking at potentially up to $1 billion that would erase the funding gap on those programs that are not really municipal programs to begin with.
And are you aware of the advocacy done by the Federation of Canadian Municipalities that is saying all cities actually need this? Toronto needs it all the more because of our size and complexity, but actually small cities are also saying we have homelessness, we have complex needs, we were not financed appropriately to solve these types of problems.
Well, we have a model that was based on our constitution, which was 1867, when municipalities were a very different thing. And so we need government to understand that the whole scope of the budget draw for municipalities, small or large, is not being met with the current funding model. So I think it's not just Toronto standing alone. Absolutely. The Canadian Federation of Municipalities has to aggressively approach this. But the other side of this too is the transparency side, which I think is important, which I was emphasizing in the presentation. If you don't have good information, if you don't have the information that allows people to do the proper analysis, then it's more difficult to generate the support you need for these things. So I think we do have to work on the transparency side.
Thank you very much for your thoughtful deputation.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I'm not sure if you're aware, Mr. Brown, part of our problem with TIPS and the TEAG that we did offer, we've changed it up slightly. That was the financing vehicle for the IMIT program, and now we've moved to EDGE. But
Right.
part of the problem is in the way in which we're required to book it. And so we can't remove it entirely from our debt ceiling. That TIF would form part of our debt ceiling. And then we lose a lot of our flexibility in other areas of the city where it might not be near a transit line, but the need is there nevertheless to proceed on an infrastructure project. And so it's a lot about how we're required to book it. The province isn't saying you can't do TIF without our permission. They're saying we're not going to change the way in which we require you to include it in your financial statements. And therein lies the pressure. Interestingly, though, because the Ontario line is their line, they want to use TIFs.
Yeah.
So, but it looks like I'm taking from your nodding heads, you are aware of that dilemma that we're stuck with. I also wanted to ask about earliest in your presentation, we were talking about showing investment on a ward basis, but I note there that you showed the Chicago ward menu allocation map, and ward menus is not everything spent in the wards.
Right.
The challenge we face in the city, and maybe you can tell me how you think in the community this would be met. I would love to do the ward menu thing, which is that they have a strong mayor model, and the mayor gives $1.5 million, give or take, to each ward, depending on their size. But also, fun fact, depending on the local councilor's ability to raise funds for the democratic machine. I don't know how that has to do with it, but it somehow does. But it's a type of discretionary funding so that then the community can use participatory budgeting or whatever so that the councilor can meet the needs that he's hearing about directly. Is there a community appetite for that? Because if you think about it, that could make a big difference in the 25 wards in Toronto. And secondly, are you aware of the thing that stops us from dividing everything into ward lists is it would look lopsided. A, because there's more population in the downtown section of the 4 service districts, but B, because that service district is the central business district, and no city can survive without investing more in their central business district.
Yeah, if I could, I was a candidate in the by-election, the Ward 25 by-election, and in talking to the constituents, my sense from longtime residents of Scarborough was that they've lost an amalgamation, that they were better off prior to amalgamation. That seemed to be the recurring message. And the only way you can counter that is by providing data. And I understand what you're saying in terms of the potential lopsided look, but at least if there is a rationale presented and there's data, that's different than being a black hole. Then people just invent what they think is the case, right? And I do think we have to be able to be transparent and say, look, this is what the city is doing, and this is why the city is doing it, and this is why there are allocations here and not allocations there. And yes, there would be an appetite because for constituency input for a funding base, because there's lots of talk about what's needed in different areas, and I think there would be engagement.
Thank you. Thanks very much for your presentation. And you said you were going to submit it to us?
Yes, I will submit it, and there's also an infographic that sort of summarizes
It's
this.
wonderful. That will stand out to counselors. I have a feeling they'll read yours.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so apparently I can go back to Deb, who is virtual. Okay, we're making you live, Deb. If you turn on your camera, we'll be able to see you in the chamber as well.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can. Welcome. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Budget Committee members, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Deb Ramsewak, and I'm a program assistant at the Center of Independent Living in Toronto, which is a part of the GTA Disability Coalition, and I'm a disabled, queer, and Indo-Caribbean independent artist. I'm here to address the glaring exclusion of disability and access in the city budget. Disabled people have been neglected by our governments for too long. We are a large and diverse community that makes up nearly a quarter of Toronto's population. And due to systemic neglect, we are more likely to live in poverty, experience homelessness, and be excluded from daily life. According to StatCan, women and gender diverse individuals were more likely to be disabled than cisgender men, and were more likely to experience worse outcomes. StatCan also reports that racialized people with disabilities experience worse school and work outcomes than their non-racialized counterparts due to discrimination. A single disabled person on ODSP receives a maximum of $1,408, while average market rents for Toronto are almost $1,800 for a one-bedroom apartment, and the threshold for so-called affordable housing is over $1,400. However, ODSP is notorious for being extremely difficult to attain, and many disabled people are unfairly disqualified, and the rates for OW only provide a maximum of $733. This means many disabled people are unable to afford their housing, much less any of their other basic needs, even if they are able to receive the monthly $200 from the Canada Disability Benefit. This is not to mention that not only are we impacted by housing affordability, but there is an extreme shortage of accessible housing. And according to the Wellesley Institute's report on thriving in the city with a disability, it is more expensive to live with a disability than without one. Every day I log onto social media, I see members of the disability community crowdfunding online for their rent, for food, for repairs to their mobility aids, and more. The Thriving in the City report also describes how social participation promotes positive physical and mental health. But if we can't afford basic needs, we can't afford to attend events in order to socialize. Many of us are also facing isolation due to a lack of funding towards COVID and other viral precautions. In addition to improved poverty reduction strategies, initiatives to address this isolation should also be a priority. An example could be the new initiative for Toronto Public Libraries to provide programming for seniors to reduce isolation could be extended to all people with disabilities. Another could be ensuring that all public venues have adequate air filtration systems to create safer environments for disabled people to attend. If finding the funds seems like an issue, I would recommend reallocating funds from Toronto Police Services. It has been well documented that funding social programs does more for reducing crime than police services do, especially when these funds are used to criminalize our unhoused community, many of whom are disabled or will become disabled due to being unhoused. It is also an issue that so much of our budget is put towards Toronto Police, while vulnerable communities like disabled people do not have dedicated funds to improve their lives when these communities are disproportionately victims of police violence. Back in 2018, CBC reported on how at least half of victims of police brutality had a disability. On top of this, police violence often leaves survivors with some kind of disability. In conclusion, I urge the Budget Committee and other City of Toronto officials to better prioritize disabled people within their decision-making processes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the deputy? Seeing none, Deb, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, our next two are virtual as well. I have Karishma Manji. Karishma, we're turning on your microphone. Oh, we've unmuted you here. We need you to unmute at your end.
Hi there, can you hear me?
We can. Welcome. I'll start your timer. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks so much for having me. I was planning on coming in person, but just with work and the snow, I ended up doing it virtual, so thanks for accommodating me. Thank you for allowing me to speak at the Budget Committee. I am a family doctor in Toronto, and I have lived in Toronto for over 10 years. I work at a community health center both in East York as well as in Scarborough North at the Taidu Community Health Center. And today I would just like to take a moment of your time to share with you the experiences of my patients who live in Toronto, who are everyday citizens struggling to make ends meet due to the affordability crisis that is affecting Canadians everywhere. They include folks who have lived in Toronto for generations, newcomers, as well as refugees. They often spend close to an hour commuting from Scarborough to other parts of Toronto and spend close to 50% of their income on rent. I would like to thank the municipal government for in general committing to funding public services when there has been a decrease in funding for public services from both the provincial and federal government at large, particularly when we look at our public education system and public health system. I would like to thank the municipal government for stepping up to fund school lunch programs when we have not seen an increase in funding for this from the provincial government, and committing to providing shelters for refugees when our federal government has not been able to commit the necessary funding for this as well as committing to building shelters for folks experiencing homelessness and committing to building affordable housing. I would like to thank the City of Toronto for investing in the public transport system to make it easier for folks in Scarborough to access the downtown and midtown core, and to keep libraries open on Sunday and preventing a TTC fare hike. All of these changes help my patients get to work, help our kids foster healthy learning environments, and create a social safety net that makes us stronger as a community. I would ask you to continue your commitment to funding public services and strengthening your commitment to addressing the affordability crisis in Toronto. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Doctor, are there any questions of the deputant? Seeing none, thank you for finding a way to depute despite the snow. Thank you very much. Okay, and our next deputant is also video conferencing. Alice Lee, is Alice Lee ready?
Yes, I am ready.
Oh, welcome, really ready. That's perfect. Okay, go ahead, I'll start your time.
Thank you so much, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Alice, and I take the TTC every day. I love the TTC. That's what I wanted to speak to everyone about today. I wanted to address many of the recent announcements, news presses of the action plan to enhance safety across the city's transit system. I am in support of public transit. That's what I depend on to live in the city. And it's great to see that there is support, there is budget being allocated, there is funding. I think that what I wanted to bring up today more so relates to where is that going? Is there any more efficient utilization of our resources? And is the input matching the output that we're hoping for and expecting? I'll take one personal example just to put into this discussion. Recently, 2 months ago at Bloor Yonge Station, I was attacked unprovoked by a random individual that I do not personally know. I suffered a cervical disc herniation, dislocation of both shoulders, as well as bleeding cuts and bruises. So as a lifelong transit rider, this was not the first time that something like this happened. I fear it will not be the last time that something like this happens. Furthermore, if it can happen to me, it can happen to you too, and anyone else in Toronto. This is very concerning to me. So after incidents like this, and I'm still taking this example, I contacted the TTC and I heard an email back that my concerns has been forwarded to the appropriate contacts, specifically the special constables team and the stations team. When this incident occurred, the station staff was so traumatized and shaken that the station staff had to excuse themselves for a bit of a timeout and a bit of space of their own to really process what they witnessed. The station supervisor told me that unfortunately things like this happen. He is so sorry. And I mean, he says if I want to call the special constables, he can, but it's going to be pointless and useless because they cannot do anything about it either. The suspect has obviously already ran and fled, and we can't catch him. We don't know where he went. There's not much we can do. Reports, okay, we fill them out, not much we can do. So I felt very discouraged and disheartened from if it makes us feel very powerless. So at the same time, with this email follow-up, I never heard back. So now I'm speaking here today because these are very frequent occurrences. And then the public sees news releases online that say things such as safety is improving, even statistically, there's been messaging in the public that there is a decrease in offenses, and hence what we're doing is working. But from my personal experience, something is not working. If the statistics say that things are getting better, now from my personal experience, I question if things like my experience go unreported and unrecognized. Obviously, yeah, the statistics will not catch that, and it seems like things are improving. But I have firsthand experience now that all this funding we're putting into more high visibility staff. We have all sorts of staff that are supposed to be patrolling the systems and keeping an eye out. They're not there. And and we also have staff who unfortunately are feeling traumatic from what they see as well, and then they can't help me either. So my question and my ask today is to really look more into whether or not our resources are being effectively utilized. I support funding public transit. I think we do need more funding, but are we really seeing the results? We're putting in so much, but is it really translated in what the day-to-day passenger experience is on the grounds? And I really don't want people to feel disconnected from this issue. And I think that this would be a very priority concern, the safety and security of all Torontonians.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee, before I open it to questions, we have to be careful because I'm trying to gather from your deputation if the incident that happened, which is a very personal incident, if it has been reported. Was a police report filled out?
No, I was discouraged by the TTC supervisor to not fill out a police report because, like I
Okay,
mentioned, the supervisor advised me it will be useless.
okay, so I'm going to have to caution members before I ask them questions because you still have a lot of avenues left open to you. You have complaint avenues, you have report avenues. If you haven't, you don't have to, it doesn't have to be the same day. You can still fill out a police report. You can still fill out a complaint report of any kind. So I'm going to ask if there are any questions, but I'm going to caution that we don't want to get too deeply into your personal incident because it sounds very much as yet unresolved, and there are lots of avenues still open to you. So I don't want to jeopardize any of that. So I just ask that we keep that in mind as we go to Q&A. Are there any questions of the deputy on the presentation? Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Chair. So I first just want to apologize, Alice, for your experience on the TTC. That's certainly not what you should have been told, nor is that the experience we want our customers to have. I would say two things. If you still have your email that you sent to them, you can email it directly to myself, ttcchair@toronto.ca. It's on my website as well, and I will follow up directly with the staff. Also, so you know, we are trying many things at TTC. We have now had our special constables who are walking through the stations and the subway trains. We've started a pilot to have Toronto police officers on certain sections of the Line 1. We have a 24/7 crisis teams at Young Bloor, Union and Spadina stations. So that pilot has started. We also have our community safety ambassadors going through. We have seen improvements, particularly amongst women in terms of feeling safe. However, I do acknowledge that we are not near our target, the targets that we have set. And we will be making further announcements on safety, on how to improve transit safety.
Okay, are there any other questions? Councillor Chang?
I echo my colleague's sentiments. Alice, I'm really sorry that you had to go through such a traumatic incident. I'm just wondering if you knew that you can self-refer to victim services because there's no timeline for that. You could go a year after an incident, even 5 years after an incident, but clearly you have gone through an experience and they would be able to provide you with some support and resources in how you process something that you've gone through. So I'm not sure if you knew that.
Thank you so much, Counselor. Yes, I was aware of that, and I do believe that perhaps it's also beneficial for some of the TTC staff to receive that support too. So I hope that it's being made aware even on a more higher level to the public.
Yes, and I just echo my other colleagues' comments that the avenues for you are not closed, and I hope that you will explore the different options that you have available, including filing a police report. I don't know how long TTC keeps video evidence, but there are cameras throughout the whole system, and a lot of times when they are looking for perpetrators, they do rely on those cameras and the footage to identify those perpetrators. So I hope, with the support of our TTC chair, that you'll be able to find the right person and the right place, but definitely through the police would be the other avenue I would really encourage that. And yeah, take care, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, councillors. All very good advice. I hope it turns into the kind of help the deputy needs. Thank you, Alice, very much. Okay. Derek Moran, then Chris Langenfeld. While you're coming to the mic, I'll just put a couple of names out there as well. Alex Bonenfant is after that, and then Andrew Pulsfire from the TTC Riders. Afternoon, Derek. That I don't know. Do we have the overhead? Yeah, I just got a thumbs up. The mic might not be on.
Because he spoke about the need for data and transparency, I thought this guy here would be interested in knowing that members of the public used to be able to ask questions at police board meetings. And about a year ago, that was arbitrarily discontinued for some reason. So I know that Councillor Chang is a big fan of my meme making abilities, so I didn't want to disappoint today. And this is from that picture. The top picture is from the budget wrap-up meeting last year, where she mentioned that it's about fostering trust in our city, in which we can hear from some of the angry residents about the tax increase, that sometimes that trust isn't there. So I always appreciate Councillor Chang's candor. This screenshot here was from the budget council meeting. And just to refresh everyone's memory, Councillor Chang was good enough on behalf of the property tax owners of the city, was asking Mayor Chow, is there going to be light at the end of the tunnel? So Mayor Chow then says to Councillor Chang, I dug up the CFO's report, the multi-year outlook. The operating budget pressure last year was 1.8 billion. This year's, meaning last year, 1.2 billion. Next year's, meaning this year, 1 billion. Technically, it's 1.07 billion. Ooh, still pretty high. 2027 is going to be 737 million, a bit lower now, but it's still high. And this, what happened to the overhead? Oh, okay. So this is from the presentation from your CFO and city manager last year, where Mayor Chow got all these figures. So 2025 opening pressure was 1.2 billion. property tax increase was 6.9%. Last year, Mayor Chow told Councillor Cheng that this year, 2026, there would be an opening pressure of 1.07 billion. That's an 11% difference, 1.2 billion to 1.07 billion. That is an 11% drop from last year to this year. But if the property tax increase last year was 6.9%, to cover that opening pressure of 1.2 billion, doesn't it stand to reason if there is an opening pressure this year of 1.07 billion, which is an 11% drop from last year, that in order to cover the pressure this year, it would require a property tax increase that is 11% less than the 6.9% increase from last year. I don't know if anybody has a calculator with them, but 6.9% minus 11% would equal a 6.14% increase to property taxes to cover the budget pressure of 1.07 billion for this year. That again, Mayor Chow last year had predicted to Councillor Cheng. So I am just here tonight to create a public record so I can say I told you so a year from now and provide all the proof a property owner in Toronto needs in the future that Mayor Chow kept this year's tax increase deliberately low to give herself the best chance to get reelected in October, meaning property owners are going to get absolutely walloped next year with a tax increase to make up for how the mayor artificially kept the increase low this year. As one of the worst examples of crass political opportunism this city has ever seen. It's a get reelected stunt. Also, last year, he wasn't the city librarian, but Mo Husseini came before budget asking for more money. In his slide presentation, he mentioned twice the third biggest reason people go to the library is because they just want to get away from all the bloody noise, all the various types of noise in this city. They go for a quiet place to read and study. And for people that don't know, several years ago, I was arrested, not at the police board, but at the Northern District Library because I just snapped. And I got myself arrested for simply mentioning a librarian's name on Twitter because I was just so frustrated. And the youth hub that created at Northern District in September started off okay, but they've lost control of how noisy it's gotten. Recently, they've closed the door after all that time. But the noise is becoming an issue at Northern District a bit. And I just want to remind, when Mo Hosseini was asking for more money, he talked about the importance of quietness. And with my remaining time, just for the record, let the record show that I was assaulted by Superintendent Brett Nickel at the last police board meeting because of you, Councillor Carroll.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moran. Any questions of the deputy? Seeing none? Okay, I have Chris Langenfeld next. And while he's coming to the mic, I'll just remind you of Alex Bonaparte after that, which is on video conference. And then Andrew Pulsifer from TTC Riders. Mr. Langenfeld, you're next. Do you need help hooking up a PowerPoint?
Well, we tried it earlier, so hopefully it'll work.
He's a pro.
We will see.
Perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll start your clock.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So as we see, Mayor Chow has announced that there's going to be a 2.2% property tax increase. We've all heard about that. And as Derek mentions, that's certainly an artificially low number for a re-election campaign. Meanwhile, when we start digging into the budget and we get into briefing note 12 and thousands of pages later, we start seeing that, in fact, that artificially low 2.2% is coming from a whole bunch of fees that are increasing in the range of 5%. And For example, we see the city planning and development fees are going up roughly 5%. And of course, these are the fees that Doug Ford has been talking about reducing in order to get affordable housing built in this city. And as we know, Doug Ford has actually said that he's going to get rid of or suspend the requirements for affordable housing around transit because in the meantime, it seems the city is adding tens of thousands of dollars, in total hundreds of thousands of dollars to the cost of new builds. And so here we see, in fact, what's happening is we've got the budget is being kept low as a property tax number by raising the fees that actually restrict the building that we need to happen. In fact, the inflation for was 2.4% in December and 2.1% in last year. And yet we look and we've got development fees and the claim that the inflationary number is 5%. So a whole lot of smoke and mirrors in the numbers. Meanwhile, when we look at what the residents of this city are actually being charged in things like parks and recreation, we see 50% reductions in some places and small increases in others. But when you look, it's got, for example, Rink B indoor for commercial services. Prime surcharge is being reduced by 50% almost. Meanwhile, the non-prime is going up by 2%. So ultimately, we end up having the prime surcharge being less than the non-prime surcharge. So you're actually now charging people less to do what you consider prime time versus what is off hours. And presumably those prime charges were meant to get people to go at the non-prime times. Same thing happening with last minute prime charges. And of course, all these credits are for the advantage of the commercial groups. Meanwhile, it's the public that's paying the fees. Same with Rink C on page 30 of that report of Appendix A, where commercial rates and prime surcharges are being dropped. Meanwhile, we look over at what individual taxpayers are being charged, and it's 10 to 25%. For example, we've got adult hockey schools going up 27.7%, at the same time that you're dropping some corporate charges by 50%. And at the same time, though, that you're raising fees for construction of needed housing. Then we look over at the police board, and here we have the this playing with numbers where basically we have reserves that you're depleting reserves and actually going negative on projected reserves to take $4.69 million out of reserves over 3 years and use that to actually fund your lies that there's only going to be a 2.2% property tax increase, and that's all that we're paying. Whereas in fact, of course, the money's coming from other places. This money obviously has to be covered elsewhere. And in this case, it's coming from police liabilities. Police legal liabilities. And as we know, this board currently is building up all kinds of police liability claims against it for some of its actions, like violations of the rights of the members of the public and violations of their freedom of speech. And so the idea that you're going to, in fact, create a negative reserve and borrow $1.6 million against the costs that, in fact, police need to have available to cover things like the Zamir having been framed for murder by your police officers. And we, of course, we know that that investigation, despite the public being asking questions about that, the public gets cut off and told we're not allowed to ask questions about years worth of police cover-up. So here we see where those where that money's coming from. I see my time is up, and I assume there's probably going to be no questions.
Well, actually, there is a question in terms of the police legal liability reserve. I'll leave that because I don't think it's widely understood that those are the reserve contributions that need to be made. that's a relationship between the city and the province because the city covers that reserve. And so it's, the estimates are geared to actuals on a year over year basis. So the third year, it's one of the places where the 3-year outlook format of the forms doesn't really tell the whole story because each year the contribution will replenish. The question that I did have though is I'm not sure if you're aware that the development application fees you had us looking at are not quite the same as the development charges. The development charges are a very onerous cost that is on a per unit cost, and those are now being, it's provincially legislated where we can increase, but there is an agreement because we cover development application fees. That's the application fee they pay when they come to the counter. It's quite separate from development charges. And we have an agreement with the province that we're allowed to gear those to full cost recovery. So it's whatever is going to be the cost of covering the planner for that file for the next year or two is on a full cost recovery, the application fee. So it's a little different. It's sometimes affected by more than just whatever is the CPI inflation rate, but there's an understanding that we can bill to full cost recovery on those. You'll see it in one of the columns on that chart. I don't know if is that something the public's aware of?
So if I can get the screen share back again here, please.
Yeah. Development charges, on the other hand, they're not geared to full cost recovery. They're an estimate of what 20 years of infrastructure might cost.
So if we, the first issue you raised here, of course, this is the closing balances according to the report that you prepared.
Right.
Where it's the closing balance 3 years from now or 2 years from now is $1.6 million overdrawn.
Right.
Is the
That's
reserve
if we
to
don't,
pay.
that's if we don't make reserve contributions, but
Oh, this
each year-
includes contributions here.
Right.
This has $2.3 million in 2028 and $1.8 million in 2027. And you've got a little note at the bottom here that you think that somebody's going to pony up more money to cover this money that you've taken out of a reserve in order to make the reserve negative. And we'll have to ask the Auditor General if that in fact even follows GAAP rules. I'm
happy to
sure
do it that way. I
does.
think they explained
now,
what happens
meanwhile,
there already to the
I'll
to the
go
public.
back to the
Yeah, that's the
this
slide I was looking at.
first issue here. So
Yeah, you'll see that column fee category full cost recovery. That's in agreement with the province that for the application fee separate from all other fees, we're allowed to charge that on the exact cost of what is the cost of those planners covering the application processing. And it's separate from development charges. Development charges is an increase where we may have had a schedule of increases, but won't be making them as per provincial policy. There'll be no increase there.
So I'm certainly find it interesting that you claim that it costs, that full cost recovery value is $232,000 for an application fee for an official plan amendment.
Yeah, that's
So
the
it's
cost of the planner for 2 years.
$780,000 for a zoning bylaw amendment. That is ridiculous to claim that it costs $780,000 to make a zoning bylaw amendment. Nobody believes that, despite the fact that anybody can put numbers on a piece of paper and claim that inflation this year is 4.82%.
Not arguing that that's the rate of inflation. But if you
Well,
want,
that's what your document says here. though. You say the
Mr. Lang,
inflation
just
is
asking if you were aware.
No, you asked the question and now you're not allowing me to answer and address what you rambled on and said.
So,
are
perfect
you
example.
talking or am I answering the question?
So perfect example, you highlighted the 743,000 under the full cost recovery basis. If the zoning bylaw being applied for is going to require a team of planners and lawyers to spend a year going back and forth with the developer, our agreement with the province is that we can charge the cost of that room full of planners and lawyers, which unfortunately, in some cases, if it's a large site application and a controversial application, can amount to that much staff time. And that's the difference between development fees and development charges. The development charges, of course, being far more onerous in an application that large.
Oh, you're done talking? Oh, okay. So
Just answering your question, Mr. Langenfeld.
funny, I thought this was your opportunity to ask me questions and that we
Okay.
weren't allowed to ask questions. Isn't that what you tell us constantly and cut us off to say we're not allowed to ask questions?
Okay.
How are you answering my questions then?
Mr. Langfeld, we're getting into history between you, which I don't think is necessarily what the folks in the gallery want us to spend.
No, they're worried about the millions of dollars that you're increasing fees both for them and for building construction as you turn around and tell them that you're only increasing their property taxes 2.2%.
Is that in the
Meanwhile,
form of
you're
a
charging up to 27% to user fees to all these people and then telling them, oh, it's only 2.2% because you bury that in thousands of pages of background documents.
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you. So our next one is virtual. I have Alex Bonifant here, who's ready. And then I have Andrew Pulsifer from TTC Riders, and then Huawei Zhang. And the first one is virtual.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, welcome, Alex.
All right. Good afternoon to everyone at the Budget Committee. Thank you for giving me the chance to speak on the budget today. As an avid transit rider who wants transit to be successful, I'm happy you're including fare capping and not increasing TTC fares. However, I'm very disappointed there is no money put aside for expanding the rapid TO network. I regularly take the 511 Bathurst and 29 Dufferin, and the improvement of service I noticed since the lanes were installed is incredible. With a bus with hundreds of riders no longer stuck behind single occupant cars, I can finally make it to work, events, and errands on time instead of constantly being late, which makes it less likely I get fired and me getting homeless in the process. With this initiative proven to be so successful, the last thing we need is to cut funding on a cost-effective way that speeds up transit and improves reliability. We were promised a rapid TO bus lane on Jane Street since 2021, which is now half a decade ago, but we still don't have it. And the last thing we need, especially now, is more delays. And here's why. We have a premier who is determined to ban anything that benefits people that don't drive. First, he banned bike lanes if you remove a traffic lane. Then he banned speed cameras. It's very likely bus lanes are next. And here's why this factor makes it more urgent to get this done now. Parkside Drive, a notoriously dangerous road that had another multi-vehicle crash yesterday, was finally going to get a redesign. But the city took too long, and ultimately the province beat you to the punch. Now that redesign can't happen at all. While Parkside Drive's redesign can't happen anymore, you can still build rapid TO lanes, but time is running out. And I urge you not to repeat the same mistake for the sake of myself and other transit riders who have to deal with buses stuck behind slow-moving vehicles on most routes. I highly recommend you look into New York's mayor for inspiration. They are getting bike and bus lanes done right away instead of waiting months or years. Transit riders like myself vote. There is a municipal election in 9 months. We will be watching closely to see if you fulfill your promises or if we have to deal with yet another delay. Over 40,000 transit riders use the routes every day proposed for rapid TO, and over 70% support transit priority lanes according to the Dufferin consultation. While there are a few dozen who are opposed to us, which is normal when there's a big change, at the end of the day, you cannot please everyone, and only a small minority are impacted negatively compared to the thousands that benefit from rapid TO. So you should be vying for the 40,000 votes from these transit riders that will benefit your re-election odds way more. 40,000 votes up for grabs right now. That's a lot of votes. If you decide not to fund rapid TO, you risk losing a lot of these votes and potentially your job as councillor as a result. So if you want to remain on council, please fund rapid TO and extend the rapid TO lanes on Dufferin Bathurst all the way up to Eglinton as originally promised this year, so we know you're serious about quickly building proven solutions to transit and congestion, because decades of research has shown there is no solution to car traffic except viable alternatives to driving. Thank you so much for your time again, and I hope my comments. I hope you take my comments as you finalize the budget.
Thank you, Alex. Absolutely. That's the purpose of today, is to get those comments. Interesting approach. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Thank you for your comments. Andrew Pulsifer? Ah, yes.
Hello, everybody.
Well, did you have a
No, I'm just reading off my laptop.
Oh, okay, super. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. My name is Andrew Pulsifer. I'm the Executive Director of TTC Riders, a membership-based transit advocacy organization representing transit riders across Toronto. There's a lot of great things for transit in this budget and some improvements that we would like to see as well, but I'm going to keep my deputation limited today to speaking in support of the fare freeze and to fully support fare capping as a cornerstone of affordability in the city. Right now, as Chair Myers knows, Toronto is facing a bit of a ridership growth crisis. Despite people being forced back into the office, the number of people taking transit is not going up at the rate that we need. That's why a fare freeze is so important. The TTC Strategic Planning Committee's own documents show that there's that when fares go up, ridership go down. Even a small increase has real consequences. A 10-cent fare increase is projected to result in about 500,000 fewer TTC trips every year. Think about that. A fare going up 10 cents means that Torontonians will stop taking transit 500,000 times. It's also important to understand that even if the money from a fare increase goes towards service improvements, those don't equal the same thing. Fare hikes tend to push out price-sensitive riders. Meanwhile, more frequent service tends to attract a different group of rider or encourage people who already ride to take more trips. So even if total ridership looks stable on paper, underneath the surface, the TTC can be losing riders who can least afford to be pushed out while working harder just to replace those trips elsewhere. A fare freeze protects against that quiet erosion and doesn't trade off one type of rider for another. We hold workshops all over the city, and we hear time and time again that transit is too expensive as it is. At face value, we may not see that like $3.30 sounds like a lot, but what about $40 a week, $50 a week, $60 a week? That's a trip back and forth every day. $40 is a trip back and forth to work every day with one additional trip or 2 additional trips. This is also why fare capping is such an important and long overdue policy change that we are in fully support of and have been advocating for many years. For the first time, riders won't need to make a risky upfront purchase to get affordable transit. They'll simply ride, and once they reach the cap, they're done paying for the month. I especially applaud the benefits that fare capping will have on fare pass users, seniors, and youth, as the cap is universal across all fare structures. And so bear with me, I'm just going to throw some numbers at you. Maybe I should have had a presentation for this, but I didn't get it in time. The fare pass single trip, a single fare pass fare is $2.10, but the monthly pass is $123. Meaning that you have to take transit 59 times in a month to quote unquote break even. In what world does that make sense? To have that fare pass, monthly pass, be so much more expensive on a trip by trip basis than the regular fare, the regular pass. I would be surprised if there is that much uptake on monthly fare pass monthly passes. Now, with fare capping, 47 trips would cost a fare pass user $99 a month. When it goes down to 40 next year, which absolutely has to happen, that equals $84. The numbers are similar for seniors and youth as well. I would be remiss if I didn't mention one group that is left out of this, and that's the post-secondary students. While there is a discounted monthly pass for post-secondary students, the upfront costs for that is still quite high, and many folks don't take advantage of that. I do urge this committee and the TTC board to look into the possibility of a lower fare for post-secondary students. But all that being said, fare capping removes the upfront barrier that keeps people from riding transit in the first place. But fare capping can only work as intended if fares are not rising underneath it. A fare increase would shrink the real value of the cap before riders even get a chance to feel the benefit. It would undermine the affordability gains at exactly the moment you should be locking them in. Now, traditionally, the TTC has relied on fares more than a lot of other major transit agencies. At a time that we're trying to recover ridership, address congestion, and meet our climate goals, raising fares would be a step in the wrong direction. Of course, we need to make sure that the federal government steps up and gives reliable ongoing funding for operations. We must renew the new deal with Ontario to get operating funding baked in. My pledge to you as a transit advocate is that I will ramp up our organizing at the federal and provincial levels to make sure they invest in our transit system. I ask that you do the same. Won't let the city off the hook here, running at a time, but we do need to consider revenue tools here too. So we don't have to rely on necessarily higher orders of government if they don't show up, or a fare increase or property tax increases. So commercial parking levy. We've talked about a rideshare congestion fee as well. Other revenue tools are on the table that we should absolutely consider. Thank you.
Okay, questions of the deputy? I just have one quick one because we don't have to get a chance to speak directly. I'm wondering if TTC Riders has looked at the various combinations as we go forward. We're getting fare capping in place, but a pressure we're going to face in 40, and this is why I think you hear the mayor sort of parsing her words on it a little bit. She would like to do 40, a fare capping of 40 the following year, but we'll have the annualized cost of just starting the 47. Eliminate the monthly pass and put that in place. But if you look at the number of systems out there in the world who do weekly capping instead, and they often use 11 or 12 as the numbers. So that's to and from school 5 days a week, plus a couple of trips, and then it's all free. Which means that really, if you put it in monthly terms, sort of the industry standard is more like 42, 44 trips a week. As TTC Riders had a group discussion yet on what they want to advocate for if we go to a weekly capping scheme?
We've discussed about fare capping in general and definitely have bandied about the idea of a weekly or a monthly or a daily cap. The TTC's strategic planning committee also broke down, I believe, what a weekly cap would look like in Toronto. We're in favor of fare capping, however it's presented. We would like the cap to be as low as possible, just to make transit more accessible for folks and to make the ridership growth gains the most possible. Definitely not opposed to looking into the idea of a weekly cap. Absolutely.
Okay. We should keep current on that then. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Thanks, Andrew. I have Yahweh Zhang. Yes. And then after that, I have Yahweh Sarvam. I'm going to ask you about your last name when you come on air because I don't want to get it wrong. And then Solar Devon Mirage, and then Maurizia Rosales. So that's just to keep people, a couple of those being virtual. Welcome. You don't need to connect your device?
Be reading. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great. Thanks.
Testing.
Yes,
Good.
yes, good.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Yahweh Zhang, and I'm a master's student at the University of Toronto, majoring in urban planning. I'm here today to speak as a transit user and analyst in support of the 2026 city budget on the TTC, especially the fare capping and fare freezing. As part of my master program, I'm conducting quantitative analysis of the fare structures of transit agencies across Canada, examining how fare capping helps improve ridership growth and social equity, which is also a focus of the TTC's work. Fare capping could be value-based, ride-based, or distance-based. For value-based fare capping, passengers need to estimate their trips for a given month to determine if they need to purchase a prepaid monthly pass. But for the ride-based fare capping, a passenger can just pay as you go to reach the capped rides, after which they can receive free rides for the rest of the month. I found that the adult single fare of the TTC is not expensive, which is good. However, the capped rise of the TTC for a month, which is 47 rise, are the highest. Furthermore, the prepaid value-based monthly passes suggest that the transit users must plan their trips within a given month to reach the 47 rise. Otherwise, they will incur a loss. I've been told that many TTC users no longer buy monthly passes because they're not worth it, and they cannot accurately estimate their trips due to slow zones, service interruptions, and other unpredictable issues. If the TTC will implement a ride-based fare capping, even capped at the 47th ride, passengers would not lose any money before reaching the cap, just accumulating the single fares. What's more, passengers may be incentivized to make more trips, such as social trips or shopping, just to get a cap and receive the free rides. This would encourage more people to use transit and, of course, increase the ridership. The adult monthly pass doesn't have the highest capped rise. The youth pass, senior pass, and the fair pass have capped rise as 55, 57, and 59, respectively. Although their single fares are lower than those of adults, and they have to make many more trips to make up the price. But in reality, these people usually make fewer trips than adults. According to a research, the low-income people usually make 11 to 12 trips every month. It shows that the TTC fare structure is not encouraging and needs to be reformed. Implementing a ride-based fare capping is the first step on the right track. I appreciate the services that TTC has been providing for over a century, and I'm looking forward for better service in the future. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, you're welcome. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you for your.
Thank you.
comments. Yeah. Okay. Yobi is ready online. Oh. You're in person. Well,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes, go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, members of the Budget Committee. My name is Yobi Saravanan. I am a resident of Toronto, where I live in Ward 21, Scarborough Central. I want to focus on the issues as part of the 2026 city budget, which are fare capping at the TTC and funding towards employment and services. The issue is the TTC fares, which are expensive, and the proposal to implement fare capping. I consider the cost of the TTC fares to be expensive, since the cost is $3.30. According to TTC riders, fares have gone up faster than inflation over the last 30 years. I am concerned about the impact of the TTC fares, and I use Presto tickets for emergencies. The TTC fares are a barrier that will negatively impact the ability of people to take public transit, which includes people who are homeless and people who are unemployed. I am supportive of fare capping, where the proposal is to allow people to take the TTC for free after taking 47 trips per month. The proposal is reasonable since it can help people to save money, and it can allow more people to take public transit. I am still supportive of a fare freeze in 2026 since the fare freeze was enforced in 2024 and 2025. There are still issues at the TTC, which are crowding, delays, and disruption in buses, subways, and streetcars. Another issue is the concerns that the budget did not prioritize creating more employment opportunities and investing in services, which includes recycling, parks, and affordable housing that is based on rent geared to income housing. However, the budget did include investments in some services which are considered to be positive, which includes libraries and crisis support services. Since I visit most libraries in Toronto, I am supportive of the expansion of the Toronto Public Library open hours plan, where all 100 branches should be open 7 days per week, which can help more people to visit libraries. I am also supportive of the investments towards crisis services at the TTC and the expansion of social and crisis support service at libraries. I feel that the budget did not prioritize an increase in employment opportunities, since there is a crisis where the unemployment rate among young people is increasing, and there are barriers towards employment for people with disabilities and marginalized communities. The municipal government should create more employment opportunities and focus on solutions to reduce unemployment and inequality. In conclusion, I recommend that the Toronto City Council should focus on increasing services and employment opportunities. In addition, I recommend that the Toronto City Council should continue to fund fair capping, the expansion of hours at libraries, and the investment towards services at the TTC and libraries. I also recommend that the Toronto City Council should invest in the rapid TL bus lanes as part of the preparation for the 2026 FIFA World Cup in Toronto. I am supportive of a 2.2% tax increase for residential properties and a Manson tax that is based on an increase on the municipal land transfer tax rate on luxury homes. I believe that the taxes should be invested on services which can contribute to reducing inequality, unemployment, and poverty. The 2026 city budget should be an opportunity for the City of Toronto to focus on using the funding for investments in services that can help improve social and economic conditions and solve the issues which include transit affordability, the housing crisis, and higher unemployment. Thank you for listening to my deputation.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions on that, deputy? It was very thorough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Solar Demon Mirage, is that person in person? Oh, okay. Welcome. Join us at the mic there. And after that, I have Maritia Rosales and Eric Capito.
Greetings, City Council. On this very snowy day, we've trotted in. So I'm gonna make my deputation. Greetings, City Council. My name is Solar Dimamaraj. I've been a youth and community worker working in Scarborough for the last 20 years. During this time, I've worked with many large-scale organizations. In 2012, I founded a community development grassroots organization called Impacting Communities. Impacting Communities was started and funded out of my pocket on a cash-strapped youth worker salary. Impact has been addressing violence prevention through asset-based life skills programming and services, addressing the various determinants of social determinants of health from a grassroots level with a limited budget. We've had many impacts and we have suffered many losses. Without sufficient resources in place, I've seen far too many youth suffer from the infectious wrath of violence. I've seen too much bullying, youth falling victim to the criminal justice system, stabbing, shooting, suicide, and I've attended far too many youth funerals. I've consoled far too many parents And I've seen too much infinite potential lost to the systemic barriers. Historically in Scarborough, programs and services have come and gone due to lack of sustainable funding, and we have felt the brunt of this thing over and over again. Scarborough has far too often suffered the short end of the stick regarding funding, programs, and services from all levels of government. But miraculously, 2 years ago, the city showed up in Scarborough in the form of hope with a Towards Peace program. Towards Peace is a violence disruption program for youth, unlike any other program that has come before it. Rooted with an asset-based and public health approach, this program gives the most vulnerable youth a path forward, providing them the tools necessary to set and obtain goals through proven methods and resources. TWP deters antisocial tendencies through systemic levels by addressing the root causes of violence, such as mental health and wellness. We do this by providing high-risk youth with a caseworker in the form of a VDW, a violence disruption worker. Personally and daily case manage cohorts and put them on the path to success. VDWs work in the areas of West Hill, Riverside, Cedar Bay, Woodbury. TWP manages 40 youth at a time, with 40 youth, with 4 violence disruption workers, 2 violence disruption leads, and we have access to wellness, counseling support, social workers, family support for parenting, and siblings of the cohorts. Trauma-informed life skills training, development, job entrepreneurial placements, and the program allows for seasoned, culturally relevant elders to work and engage youth. This unique intergenerational feature helps restore the wisdom council of eldership that has been lost to this city. As well, it has given youth projects a voice and opportunities through the peace projects. Another critical component of Towards Peace is the compassionate funds. These funds allow VDWs to assist youth in attaining their realistic goals, i.e. certifications, groceries, clothing, emergency shelter, whatever it is needed in order to help them on their success path. On a program level, I have never seen a program as holistically and uniquely encompassing of all these necessary features. Not only has this program allowed us to work with high-risk, underserved, marginalized participants, it has allowed us to expand and scale impacts other existing services such as youth drop-ins, food banks, and mental health and wellness, entrepreneurial training, etc. It has allowed us to be able to work with 500 people on a weekly basis. On an organizational level, this program is the first of its kind to achieve the kind of success where grassroots are meaningfully partnered with large-scale organizations and institutions to create real impact. Our partnership consists of impacting communities, the Forgiveness Project, another brilliant grassroots organization, Scarborough Center for Healthy Communities, a large-scale organization, and the City of Toronto, the Safety unit, working cohesively in solidarity to create meaningful change. Towards Peace is a proven model showing that the grassroots organization, a large-scale organization, and an institution such as the City of Toronto, Safety can work together to create the most effective violence prevention intervention program that in the history of Scarborough. Yes, I said the history of Scarborough because I can attest for that for the last 20 years being in this field. We implemented this program over the last 2 years, and the program is maturing into success. And we're seeing pivotal successes. The program was funded through the Building Safer Communities by the Federal Ministry of Public Safety, but the funding ends March 31st. The amount of financial investment that we require from the City Council will be minuscule compared to the billions of dollars that is spent on critical response through the police and other services. We are asking for a higher return on investment through an investment in this program. You'll see lucrative yields in social capital through investments in much needed prevention and intervention services. The number of gun violence issues in Scarborough has decreased over the last year. This success comes not just from police efforts, but from the investment in strategic youth prevention in Scarborough. This unseen and nurturing these festering wounds has prevented the spread of infectious needless violence further. As you know, hurt people hurt people. Violence is no longer isolated to silos or low-income neighborhoods. It's in the schools, the transit.
We need you to wrap up soon, Mr. Roger, over the 5, but there are going to be questions.
Okay. I'll just read this very last part. Okay. I just want to tell you that because you're going to hear other experiences from other people that are coming forward. There's going to be voices from the youth themselves, parents, and some of the VDWs themselves will be speaking after myself. And I just want to tell you that I've seen the positive change. I've been a testament to that. I've witnessed the impossible made possible. And the impossible is done through the belief and the self-determining factor that I'm possible. And this program gives you that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So, Mr. Mirage, you were trying to fit it all in there and going
Yes.
past set of questions.
So much to say.
Is your chapters towards peace program, is it entirely federally funded to your knowledge, such that it's threatened if that
At this point in time, yes, it is completely federally funded for the Ministry of Public Safety, the Building Safer Communities Fund.
Okay.
And so we're losing that funding on March 31st. As you know, it could have been in the budget, but it wasn't in the federal budget that came out. So we are now employing the city to see if they can core fund this program to maintain one of the best programs that they've had. And this is a city program. There's one in the west end of Toronto.
Yes.
It's having
Yes,
amazing success.
that's why I asked, because the Yates Towards Peace program,
Yes,
we reached a point where other government funds came to an end, and the timing was such that we addressed in the budget. It's now funded city instead of federal. So your ask is that we find a similar solution for impacted communities.
precisely for the entire Towards Peace project.
Okay.
And again, it's not just impact, it's for four organizations. When I say this, the Forgiveness Project, Impacted Communities, Scarborough Center for Healthy Communities, and the City of Toronto. So
Right.
four of us have come together to create this amazing project. And like I said, you're right, to have all these institutions, large scale and grassroots work meaningfully and collaboratively,
Right.
it's just hasn't been done. And the thing is, what we, as I mentioned before about Scarborough not always kind of receiving the short end of the stick. If you look at the West, they've got an amazing project. They got funding. We're asking for the same thing. Scarborough deserves it. The youth of Scarborough has been historically ridden with a lot of violence. And this program addresses not just violence, it addresses the root causes to prevent that. I've been doing this for a long time, so I can really say the model is one of the best models I've seen in terms of programming, and we actually have it running. We have the proof. We've been doing this for 2 years. We have the outcomes. We have the stats. We have the
Right.
data to show that.
100%. 100%. You're preaching to the choir here. Because we all voted for the Yates extension. Just so you're updated, we have a briefing note. We asked for a briefing note that outlines what the cost is of the programs that are under threat if the federal youth programming stops in March, so that we'll have, in a way, it gives us a cost center
Right.
menu. So we asked for that briefing note to create it, but the timing isn't as perfect as last time. Right now, there is an intergovernmental conversation going on such that while it wasn't in the initial budget announcement, can we work it out with the federal government? But if not, you certainly have the budget community, the budget committee already working to make sure that we know what's the delta here? What are we going to need if they do cut it off, such that the mayor would be able to take action as long as she has the information. We're making sure that the information is created. But I also know that Social Development Finance and Min have people listening to the meeting today. They had someone here in person this morning. I think she probably went back to the office due to the weather, but they are listening, and so we'll keep this conversation going. And they're aware that your program is one of the ones that's going to have to be dealt with one way or another.
One way or another, we got to make this happen.
Yes.
Definitely. And I appreciate the time that you've allotted us. I just wanted to let you know that it is worth the investment. And when you comparatively look at like what's happening, and not to take away from what the police or anything is doing, but when you compare it, it's minuscule, the investment we're asking for to continue this program. And what we can return, the return on investment is abundantly clear. Like it will yield so much rewards in terms of social impact.
Well, just so you know, I've been to see Dr. Jones' program in the West. We would love to be invited to visit your program.
Anytime you want to come out, you're more than welcome. We're just down the street.
I'll be bringing Councillor Chang with me. Councillor Chang, you have questions?
Yeah, thank you for all the work. I'm sure a lot of it is beyond what you're paid for. This is a passion and a love that you have for the people you're caring for. And I just wonder, do you have the amount that you're losing this year? What is that amount?
So I'm gonna give you a ballpark. Okay, I don't have the exact amount in front.
Yeah, but it will just be helpful to know what that ballpark.
So it's about just under that, like one under So I think it's about 930 or 900, between 930 to $950,000 for the
Sorry, how
for year.
much? I'm sorry.
950,000 for the year ballpark, right?
150,000.
Get $1.2 million, we could actually scale the program up to where it's supposed to go, right? Because like right now, because like if you know the working with what we have to make it happen is it's not enough. We do as a grassroots organization, we're able to find what's in the cupboard and make good from that. But 1.2 million will set us up in a nice place where we can actually maybe even expand the program.
And I'm just wondering, who is the city councilor that covers the area where your program runs?
So we have there's Councilor Ainsley, there's Nathan Shan, there's Michael Thompson, there's is there one the one from Melbourne,
So basically, you're drawing in, you've got kids coming in from throughout Scarborough.
yes.
Basically, it's Scarborough Community Council.
Yeah.
If Scarborough can invest, we can even look at expanding out to other areas of Scarborough, because Scarborough needs this, and as you know, this was one city hall, but as we we came to this point, like a lot of the migration is sometimes it left Scarborough in a sort of a drought almost, you know what I mean? So, and but we'll fix that, right? Because we love Scarborough.
I just want to encourage you that your local representative is a good advocate for you as well. As you know, we go through the budget process, that if they know the amounts that you need, it will just help to have more voices that understand the precarity of your program and how important it is.
Definitely reached out to every city councilor as
Right.
well to try and get them on board, and I believe they are, because I know our partners at the city have had a lot of conversations.
The mayor's office is live
Yeah.
with this issue, so you're already in the,
You're in the mayor's office.
Oh, well,
you're in the queue.
yeah. Big up Olivia Chow. Thank you for your
Just
investment.
one last question, I have no doubt the great impact that you have, and I know you had so little time to share so much information. And I would just love to hear one impact story of one person or, yes.
You're gonna hear a lot of them. Yeah, so I'll leave that to I'll leave that to them, because all right.
Sure, all that beautiful work that you're doing. Great. Thank
Thank you everyone for listening with an open heart. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have Mauricia Rosales, then Eric Capito, Andrew Bond.
I think Eric is the next one.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Not very well. I don't know if the microphone's on.
Can you hear me now?
That's a little better. Yes.
Good
Yeah.
afternoon.
You do still, it's a quiet mic, so you do still have to just remind everyone, you have to speak up into that mic, even though it is mic'd.
Okay, I'll do my best. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Marisa Rosales, and I am here to speak from the heart. Impact communities have given me and my family an amazing experience when there was turmoil, when there was no one to turn to, when doors have closed. You have to explain your experience or your concerns with what you're dealing with to everyone, and it's a long waiting list. It is just very difficult getting services when you are at turmoil. Impact Communities was that one providing opportunity for my family to give us that opportunity to feel at home, feel at peace, feel safe, a space where we were able to get solutions when there was none, while you're waiting in the process of getting services. Also, it provides my son with peer-to-peer counseling. It also gave him the opportunity to, sorry, it's just a very.
Take your time. Take your time.
It was just a very difficult experience for me, and it's my opportunity. I feel proud to stand here today and say how important it is for this grassroots program to continue what they're doing because they have impacted families. They have made a difference when the services are not available readily or it's slow. I believe that it is my duty to help others along the way based on the experience that I have received from this opportunity. It's extremely important that it continues. It is providing comfort when their doors are closed. I mean, it is just a phenomenal program in terms of helping the youth with skill development, helping the youth with being able to breathe, counseling, job opportunities. There's so many things, I can't think of it all. Yoga when there's distress. You know, there's so many opportunities that this program has provided for myself. They help me with counseling as well, because there's times when you're losing your mind. It is just so much. It gives you that safe space. It is extremely important, extremely important that this program continues. I cannot stress it enough. It has helped my family tremendously. It has helped me tremendously. And it just gives me a chance to breathe when everything just seemed to be crumbling. I stand here proudly because I feel like I'm a strong advocate for my son. And it's something that I have to do. It's not easy for me to stand here today to do this at all, but I have to do it. So thank you for listening. And I hope that the funding is continued for this grassroots program. And grassroots programs is the bridge for families and people with disabilities to get, before they get to the services. That bridge is very important. That is there. Because without that bridge, it creates bigger problems later on. It is so very important to have that bridge there so that people have opportunities. People have supports in place when there is none available. It is extremely important. I can't stress. So this gives me a sense of culture, a sense of connection. Being in this program, it also helps fill the gap where government systems have failed and access is slow. It also provides dignity, inclusion, and real life needs. And this is real. This is my real, authentic self speaking today. Right? And that's all I have to say. I thank you all for listening, and hopefully change can happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Just any questions? Seeing none, there are no questions. So thank you. Thank you for your comments. Yes. And I hope you don't mind us recording today. I wish we had the federal government sitting here, but we can't show them a recording of how much this means to you. Thank you. Okay, Eric, is Eric ready? I have Eric Capito, Andrew Bond, and then Jaden Carpenter. Okay. Okay, you're Eric?
Yep.
Okay, welcome. Go ahead.
So I'm here to talk to you about my experience as a VDW worker, which is the Violence Disruption Worker for Towards Peace. This program has provided a powerful message and a powerful opportunity for the youth that need it in these communities in Scarborough. This program has helped change youth's lives, such as taking them from severe court cases to helping them find jobs to becoming leaders themselves. I myself can also speak on behalf of someone that's been through this struggle. I've gone through a lot of things in my life, getting incarcerated, coming out of custody, going back in, coming out because of lack of program, because lack of resource, because lack of opportunity. As you see, you have all these young people here today begging, asking for this opportunity. This program has been able to provide youth to help conquer their goals, such as getting into school, helping them get their driver's license, being able to travel, being able to become peer mentors and leaders themselves. Not only is Scarborough underserved, but we feel like we're undervalued. We have a lot of value here. We have a lot of chances, but we're not given the opportunity. As you see, these youth here want to make a change. We want to make a change. I'm doing this because I feel my experiences in life can help contribute to help this program. And so far, it's been really good in helping them. There's a lot of peer-to-peer mentorship. There's a lot of situations that we've had to intervene. There's a lot of times where we get phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning, and do we answer the phone? Right? Always, because these youth are our future. They're the next chance. By providing more funding for this program, not only are you supporting youth, you're supporting family relationships, you're supporting VDWs, and most of all, you're supporting the East End community. Again, been undervalued for a very long time. Let's bring peace back to Scarborough. Let's change the narrative. Let's change the statistic. All we need is that opportunity. All we need is the funding to progress, to help these young people get into the situations that they want to be and need to be by providing these opportunities. Now I'm going to pass it over to one of our cohorts. His name's Simon, and he can talk about his experience, and then I'll close this off.
Oops. Welcome, Simon. Yeah.
How's it going, madam? Okay. I am from Galloway, and I'm here to tell you my experience living in Galloway and my previous issues I've been dealing with. How are you going to survive outside if you can't survive in your own house, right? See, working with the violence disruption workers, I was able to reimagine what a home feel like at impacting communities. They made me put down a gun and made me pick up a new path and helped me do the right thing physically, mentally, and emotionally. Recently, I was even able to reconnect with my father because of the care I felt at impacting communities. I got to reconnect my relationship with my father, and they got me a job so that I don't have to go back to the streets. As you can see, the Towards Peace in Scarborough positively impacted me, and I can't wait to continue to share my stories to other men so that they don't feel alone in this world. Erica, something next.
Thank you.
So most recently in the news, as you guys hear, they're talking about making longer sentences. I think if we were able to focus on, instead of longer stays, we could focus on better ways. And that's by giving these youth the opportunity, as well as the community that stands here with you.
Okay.
And yeah, that's all I have to say right now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you. I know we're going to hear more. Thank you. Great presenter, Simon. Yeah. Okay, is Andrew Bond here? Yes. So I have Andrew, while you're coming down, Andrew Bond, then I have Jaden Carpenter, then Tara Muldoon, and then Sheldon Pitt. Welcome.
Welcome.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Greetings, Chair, members of council, and respected delegates. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today at the City of Toronto's Budget Committee here at Scarborough Civic Center. My name is Andrew Bond. I'm a violence disruption worker with the Forgiveness Project and Towards Peace Scarborough. And I lived in Scarborough since 1989, growing up in a highly at-risk community of Malvern. Scarborough is not just a place where I work. It is where I was raised, educated, and shaped. Over decades, I have witnessed the dynamics of violence escalate while culturally grounded comprehensive supports remain limited or inconsistent. These realities are not theatrical for me. We shaped my environment, influenced my choices, and ultimately led me to the same gun and street subculture violence many of our youth face today. That path resulted in multiple federal sentences. What lived experience has taught me the most is Incarceration without redirection is not creative change. It is compounded deficit. Without the redirecting mindset, a strong reconnection of purpose and meaningful support, individuals return to the same environments with fewer tools and greater barriers. My transformation began when I was supported by initiatives such as the Towards Peace Scarborough Project. This program helped me to realign values, recognize purpose, and convert lived experience into service. Today, I stand as proof. With the right knowledge, structure, constructive resources, people are not incorrigible. They are capable of meaningful and lasting change. Because of this lived experience and deepened root connection to Scarborough, it is not optional, it is impunitive that individuals like myself serve as violence disruption workers in this community. Effective violence prevention requires trusted messengers who understand the neighborhoods, the schools, the dynamics, and the unspoken realities shaping young people's decisions. Through Towards Peace, I now work with the same schools I once attended, alongside principals, central assigned principals, youth outreach workers, social workers, parents, and community hubs across Scarborough. This coordinated approach matters because violence prevention does not happen in isolation. It happens through trust, consistency, and relationships built over time. Towards Peace Scarborough is not social service development youth program. It is a violence interruption, intervention, and prevention model designed to operate at moments of high risk. The violence disruption worker role is central to this model because violence disruption workers bring credibility that cannot be manufactured. This is the foundation of this work. Youth engage because they see someone who understands what they've been through and where they're headed. Someone who has been down the road and can redirect them before they fall susceptible to the same things on the block. I support a young person currently from my old neighborhood whose parent was killed by gun violence, a parent I knew personally. The young person that was at risk himself now works with us and has now obtained employment. That young person was at serious risk themselves. Through Towards Peace, I was able to connect them to employment, replacing harmful influences, structure, income, adaptability, and presently interrupt generational cycles. I have also supported a youth who was shot at near his school, and I helped him by securing responsible and securing culturally responsive mental health supports, safe alternative education placements, and transportation, ensuring trauma did not permanently derail his future. Towards Peace is a twofold: violent, disruptive, and deterrent, preventing harm along the way, and while also providing anti-recidivism supports for justice-impacted violence disruption workers through stable employment, training, and wraparound wellness. These roles must be recognized as long-term, permanent public safety positions. Scarborough youth vitally need Towards Peace Scarborough. And the vitality, what they mainly need is credible, lived experience violence disruption workers. Defunding this initiative would widen existing gaps and undo process built on trust, presence, and proven initiative and intervention. In closing, I urge the committee to continue funding Towards Peace Scarborough as proven preventative investment in safety, dignity, and community stability. This initiative saves lives, reduces long-term costs, and demonstrates what is possible when people are given the right tools to change. Thank you for your time today and consideration. Respectfully, Andrew Bond, violence disruption worker, Towards Peace Scarborough.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions of the deputy? Nope, we want to keep on hearing from more participants.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I have Jaden Carpenter next. Is that Jaden coming down? Okay, well, Jaden's coming down, then Tara Muldoon, Sheldon Pitt, and Ahmed Dunn.
Testing, testing.
Yes, welcome, Jaden.
Good morning.
Go ahead, I'll start your clock.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Jalen Carpenter. I'm here from the Gorgeous community, and I'm a TWP youth advisor and cohort, and I'm here to speak about how TWP impacted my life. TWP helped me throughout my recovery process after I was impacted by gun violence in my community, and my violence interruption worker was the person that just spoke, Andrew. He helped me
helped me trying to see me change my lifestyle and make a second opinion on retaliation. So I asked him for a job to stay out of the streets and everything. So I need to stay busy and make an impact change for my city and my neighborhood. TWP.
Sorry, Jaden, I have to ask you to get a little closer to the mic.
Yes.
It's not you, it's me. Old ears. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll start from here. TWP helped me throughout my recovery process after I was impacted by gun violence in my area. My violence disruption worker, as you just seen, was Andrew. So I was trying to change my lifestyle and make a second opinion on retaliation. So I asked him for a job to stay busy and make an impact change for my neighborhood and my city. TWP has changed my life because it helped me stop the violence and corruption around me and guided me an opportunity to better myself and inspire others in my area. It guided me an opportunity to better myself and have other better community representatives and be a part of TWP initiatives instead of tax dollars be wasted in incarceration for youth. For taxpayers, it'd be more efficient for us saving tax dollars, for us to be youth coordinates and have a rehabilitation plans because we focus on lived experiences. And I get the opportunity to use my experience to support others. And if it wasn't towards peace, I wouldn't have the proper job ready skills and experience for us to voice our opinions now. And the network for better career opportunities and career development skills. So I owe my betterment to them. They changed my life and continue to do so with helping my therapy, rehabilitation programs, and resources. And I continue to support the continuation for TWP, what they do for my community and what they do for me. And without it, I wouldn't be who I am today without them. Thank you very much and have a good afternoon, Council.
Thank you. Thank you very much. No questions? Okay. Thank you, Jaden. Okay. I have Tara Muldoon next, then Sheldon Pitt, then Ahmed Dunn.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
Hello. Good afternoon, Chair and members of the Budget Committee. My name is Tara Muldoon, and I'm the founder and director of the Forgiveness Project. I created the Forgiveness Project out of necessity. As someone who survived the impact of violence firsthand, I refused to believe that trauma was the end of my story. Instead, I built an organization that demonstrates what transformation looks like in real time, not in theory, not in reports, but on the ground with young people who have been failed by every other system. Our partnership with Towards Peace expands our work into a comprehensive public health response to gun violence. Focus on the social determinants that make violence predictable and therefore preventable. For 15 years, the Forgiveness Project has worked at the intersection of trauma, accountability, and transformation. Towards Peace extends that expertise into neighborhoods where the stakes are highest. Scarborough is now at a generational crossroads. We are seeing conflicts emerge between youth who inherited system inequities they did not create. These tensions are not abstract. They are playing out between communities and between friend groups that can become adversities in the matter of hours. Traditional systems have neither that reach nor the credibility to intervene at these moments. Towards Peace does. Our violence disruption model employs individuals with lived experience who hold the moral authority required to de-escalate conflict before it becomes fatal. These workers function as first responders to social emergencies. They are trusted, they are embedded, and they have already proven that intervention is possible long before police or social services are even aware there's a problem. This model works not because it is idealistic, but because it is realistic. Conflict is addressed at the source by people who understand the dynamics, language, and histories that drive it. Some of my own staff come from opposing areas of Scarborough. Their ability to work side by side itself is itself evidence of what is possible when credibility meets investment. Towards Peace doesn't stop at disruption. Cohorts are supported by social workers, elders, and community partners who help young people build futures beyond survival. Many began with us immediately after release from custody. Today, those same youth are mentoring others and leading their own peace projects. Their generational conflict, turning into generational leadership, is already happening. You're hearing from some of these youth today who believe in this model so deeply that they are stepping into public spaces with powerful changemakers such as yourselves to tell their truths. What we are asking for today is not charity. It is recognition that this approach is not speculative, it is proven. The only question is whether the city wants to invest in work that is already demonstrating what safer community looks like, and I know you do. Our youth are not liabilities to manage. They are assets in development. When we invest in them, we reduce violence, increase stability, and build neighborhoods where safety is shared, not enforced. As you see the leadership here today, all the young people that are here, they speak to this. Towards Peace is not an experiment. Towards Peace Scarborough is the future of community safety in Scarborough, and it needs permanent investment. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions of the deputy? Seeing none, thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Sheldon Pitt, Ahmed Dunn, Keyshawn Morgan. Mr. Pitt, Mr. Pitt, you're a rap singer, aren't you? But I can't remember your rap name.
Wow. Wow. Well, you just ruined my introduction, but
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You were just coming out of that. Wait a second.
it is true. I am
Your handle though.
I am incredibly famous. It is true. They call me Solitaire.
Oh my gosh. Sorry.
Right, yes.
So sorry. I couldn't.
Oh, please don't apologize. That's fine.
bring it to mind. Sorry, I ruined your introduction.
No,
Do
it's
the whole
okay.
thing.
It's okay. It worked out perfectly, actually. Couldn't have been better. Honorable members of City Council, Chair, colleagues, community partners. My name is Sheldon Pitt, also known as the professional hip hop legendary Solitaire. But as long as I've been in the music industry, I've also been involved in community. And today I'm representing as a violence disruption worker with the public health initiative called Towards Peace. So I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today about something I feel very deeply about, the safety, well-being, and future of young people in Scarborough. Today, I want everyone here to recognize a form of service to this city that too often has gone undervalued, underfunded, and uncertain in its future. The service I'm speaking about is the work being done in community by Impacting Communities, the Forgiveness Project, and many others. And together, the work we do as the public health initiative called Towards Peace. As a violence disruption worker with Towards Peace, it's my job to regularly engage with young people who have been involved in or directly impacted by serious gun violence, gang activity, and other antisocial behaviors. Through Towards Peace, I've been able to help with providing wraparound supports, including counseling, mentorship, rehabilitation, and connection to opportunities to help these youth reimagine their lives. One of my biggest frustrations in the 20 plus years that I've been involved in supporting community is that the security of this work is tenuous. The value of what we do is too often perceived as work to be done as charity, or it's expected that community workers volunteer their time. I want to be clear today that this work that we do is not charity. This is investment. We're investing in these youth, in their potential, and ultimately in the future of Scarborough. So let's consider for a moment that our public commitments already made in other essential services like the Toronto Police Service and our public school system, the Toronto District School Board, the police managing over $1 billion budget in support of the important work that they do, and the TDSB managing hundreds of millions of dollars to support classrooms, teachers, and the development of our children into capable citizens. We understand these investments. We don't ask teachers or principals to justify their work in terms of the immediate economic return. We accept that an educated child becomes a contributing citizen and that learning is an investment in our collective future. And that same logic must apply to community safety and violence prevention. There's so much evidence of strong community-based violence intervention programs and how effective they are. Research has shown that communities that invest in violence interruption, cognitive behavioral support, and wraparound services see shooting incidents decrease by around 14% in communities compared to those that haven't received any intervention. And that's not symbolic. That's lives spared, that's families kept whole, and that's futures preserved. Towards Peace isn't just about reducing numbers on a report. It's about changing the direction of a young person's life before crisis becomes tragedy. Every day of my work through Towards Peace, I continue to witness what is possible. But without stable, ongoing funding, we risk losing the significant gains we have managed to make in these short 2 years. The gains in young, particularly in-risk youth, discovering their human potential and the valuable community trust that we've earned in the lives literally redirected towards hope. I want you to think about it this way. Permanent funding for Towards Peace should not be understood as charity, but as investment. We don't fund schools because we expect a financial return on every child. We fund them because children must be taught and because education strengthens the future of the city as a whole. In the same way, community-based youth intervention strengthens public safety before harm occurs. If we are sincere about safety, prevention must be permanent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much, Mr. Pitt.
Hello? All right.
Welcome. Okay.
Hello,
Ahmed Dunn.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ahmed Dunn from the Forgiveness Project, and I'm here to speak in support of keeping the Towards Peace Project initiative in Scarborough. Scarborough is a community rich in culture, talent, and resilience, but it's also a community that has been disproportionately impacted by gun violence, gang activity, and intergenerational trauma. Towards Peace is one of the few initiatives that meets these realities head on, not from a distance, but directly within the community, down to the actual youth at risk or victim. I'm a person with actual lived experience from the Galloway and Lawrence community in Scarborough, and I wish this program was around for me when I was a youth, considering the fact that I lost both my parents at a young age and more than a handful of friends and young boys due to gun violence. First and foremost, Towards Peace works with people impacted by gun violence, both victims and those that are at risk at becoming involved. This is crucial. Violence does not happen in isolation. It spreads through retaliation, grief, and untreated trauma. Towards Peace intervenes at those exact moments, helping to de-escalate tension and neutralize street conflicts before they turn deadly. This is peacekeeping, not policing, and Scarborough needs it. Towards Peace hires staff with lived experience. These individuals understand the streets, the pressures, and the fears and the systems that have failed many young people. Because of this, they have the credibility that outsiders simply don't. When Towards Peace workers speak to these young people involved in conflicts, the young person actually listens because the message comes from somebody that has been there and made it out. Trust saves lives. Towards Peace goes beyond crisis response because it provides real social support. Young people involved in violence are often disconnected from family, schools, and employment. Towards Peace has helped rebuild those connections, especially with broken relationships between youths and their fathers. Supporting healthy male role models is not talked about enough, but it's a powerful tool in preventing future violence. Towards Peace also focuses on job readiness and personal stability. When young people are given coaching, training, and pathways to employment, crime for gain is reduced. This is evidence-based prevention. You cannot arrest your way out of poverty or desperation, but you can provide an opportunity. Another key strength of Towards Peace is redirection. Many of the youths they work with are lacking guidance, structure, and support at critical moments in their lives. Towards Peace meet them where they are, redirects their energy, and shows them a different path. That redirection is often the difference between getting involved in the justice system and providing an opportunity for a productive future. Importantly, Towards Peace offers a bridge for individuals returning from incarceration or coming from high crime neighborhoods. Re-entry in society is one of the most vulnerable points for reoffending. Towards Peace provides consistency, mentorship, and accountability, giving youths a real chance for rehabilitating themselves to reintegrate into their community. When re-entry support disappears, reverting back to the streets will rise. Keeping Towards Peace in Scarborough keeps the doors closed. Removing or relocating Towards Peace would not eliminate challenges in Scarborough, but it would leave a window open for more violence to fill. Towards Peace, programs like Towards Peace cannot simply be moved without consequence. Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy. Towards Peace is not a cost, an investment. It's an investment in safety, in prevention of violence, in healing, and in the positive future for the young people. If we are serious about reducing violence, supporting youth, and creating a safer neighborhood, then we must be serious about keeping effective community-based solutions where they are needed the most. I'm proud of Towards Peace and the Forgiveness Project because they actually care. This program teaches troubled youths the importance of community and offers them the opportunity to create their own grassroots non-for-profit organization to show the younger youths that there's a positive way of life, and that will help break the generational curse. My neighborhood is better now because Towards Peace Forgiveness Project empowers people like myself to push peace and unity in my community through my nonprofit organization called the Way Out Foundation. I urge council to keep the Towards Peace initiative in Scarborough, where it continues to save lives, reduce harm, and builds pathways to peace. This initiative shows that the city actually cares about these young people's future. Thank you.
Thank you. Very important. Any questions? Seeing none, I think they just want to hear from all of you. Thank you. Okay, I have Keyshawn Morgan on his way down. While you're on your way down, Sharanjit Singh and Diana Yoon after that, and Heather Poon. Okay.
Hello.
Keyshawn, hey, go ahead.
I hope you all are well. My name is Keyshawn Morgan. I'm a 20-year-old resident of Scarborough, coming from the area of Morningside and Lawrence. I'm a Towards Peace cohort. I wanted to share my experiences, the supports I received, and what the program's done for me and how much of a backbone it's been in my life since. And what that could look like for my future and the future of the youth in Scarborough. Growing up in a low supportive community with little to no guidance, reassurance, or role model to lean on is already hard enough as it is navigating so early in life. It makes it near to impossible for young people to fathom anything else except for their current situation or environment. I believe having voices, programs, and spaces to empower change and redirection like Towards Peace are a key step to redirecting the trajectory, of where our youth futures lie. And that all comes back to our infrastructure and what we choose as a community to deem important or impactful. So why wouldn't continue showing up for the youth to permanently instill the idea that it's worth showing up for themselves? Being a part of this project has given me a chance to try again, time to self-reflect on how little I allowed myself to settle for, helped me realize I was falling victim to my own environment without even realizing it, simply to the fact of survival. From the beginning of my involvement with Towards Peace, I've had the support, reassurance, mental stability, and multiple resources that I wouldn't have access to outside of the program. The same resources that people who fall through the cracks don't relatively get another chance at being offered. I honestly believe that this project will be a determining factor in my long-term career path and others if given the opportunity. Not even 5 months ago, I didn't have a home to call my own home. I was sleeping on the floor in an air mattress in somebody else's basement for about a year and a half. And I was desperately searching for a way to stay self-sufficient. And that's exactly how I ended up incarcerated. With that being said, I think it's amazing that something as small as a bed, a meal, a conversation, or a genuine sense of security go a lot more than a long way for those in need like myself. those in need of a 360, or even those in need of just a hand, that don't have a terror or a peace project to turn to, which is why I truly believe that the youth in our community deserve the same opportunities and acknowledgement as we're receiving, because this has been the biggest turning point in my life so far and the most redirection I've experienced through my journey. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Seeing no questions, thank you, Keyshawn. Okay, Charanjit, welcome. Mr. Singh, did you have a slide presentation or
No,
you're just reading?
I'm just reading. Thank you.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I am here on behalf of our lead agency for the Towards Peace Project, Scarborough Center for Healthy Communities, a multi-service community health organization that has delivered programs and services to meet the holistic health needs of Scarborough residents for over 4 decades. What you have heard through the previous deputations are not isolated stories. They reflect a long-standing and persistent realities experienced by young people, families, and communities across Scarborough. From public health perspective, we understand that health is shaped by social determinants, the conditions in which people born, grow, live, work, and age. In Scarborough, gun and gang violence are significant social determinants of health. Exposure to violence impacts mental health, physical safety, school engagement, employment opportunities, and long-term well-being. These impacts extend beyond individuals to families and entire neighborhoods. What particularly is concerning is that many of the issues we are responding to today are the same issues our communities have been facing for over 25 years. Without sustained and preventative intervention, violence becomes cyclical. Early exposure to violence often goes unaddressed and later manifests as involvement with the justice system, incarceration, and or continued community harm. Public health evidence consistently shows that prevention and early intervention are more effective and more humane than reactive responses. The Towards Peace Project exists to interrupt these cycles of violence. It does so by combining public health principles with lived experience and community trust. Violence disruption workers and distinguished grassroots partners are able to reach young people that traditional systems often cannot. Because relationships are built through trust, shared experience, cultural relevance, and consistent presence in the community. We see this impact in the data. Between October and December 2025, Towards Peace supported 37 active cohort members, engaged in 943 individual interactions, and facilitated 60 violence disruptions. Of those disruptions, 56% of conflicts were resolved either temporarily or permanently, reducing immediate risk of harm. Importantly, 100% of cohort members set personal goals reflecting engagement, hope, and forward-looking pathways, outcomes that are foundational to both violence prevention and health promotion. Many young people have had years of their lives taken by the justice system at times when they truly just needed nourishment, mentorship, care, and consistent support. This program responds to those needs and gives young people the stability and encouragement to contribute meaningfully to their families and to their communities. This work is preventative and relational, which means its success is often invisible until it is disrupted. When funding becomes unstable, the risk is not simply program interruption, it is increased community harm. Trust takes years to build and moments to lose, and service gaps don't pause violence, they create openings for it. From a systems perspective, instability in prevention programming leads to increased downstream costs across healthcare, emergency service, and the justice system. Our ask today is to protect the continuity of Towards Peace project. This is not a question of whether the program is effective. The lived experiences, frontline perspectives, and outcomes shared today speak clearly to its impact. Rather, this is about recognizing gun and gang violence as a public health issue and responding with stability, accountability, and long-term commitment. Scarborough's young people deserve more than repeating the same cycles of harm generation after generation. Towards Peace represents a preventative, community-rooted response that aligns with health promotion, equity, and community well-being. So we ask that the city continue to walk with us on this journey towards peace. Thank you, Miigwech.
Thank you. Mr. Singh, your deputation had some hard numbers in it, the interactions and interventions. Will you be submitting that in writing to the clerk?
Yes, we can do that for sure.
If you could, because those numbers will be helpful in the intergovernmental conversation that's going on. Okay.
Of course, thank
Are
you.
there any questions? Seeing none? Okay, thank you. Okay. Members, there's resetting the wrong button there, sorry. Just a couple more speakers, but there's a couple of things that we have to switch from afternoon to 6 o'clock and vice versa. So there are a couple of names here that won't appear on your list. I'm going next to Diana Yoon.
Hi, Councillor Carol.
Oh, you're all set to go. You're way
Yes.
ahead of me. Just to be clear, after Diana, I have Amaya Cheevers, Nicole Jackson, and then a couple more speakers that won't appear on your list, Patrick and Takumba Awe. Go ahead. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to participate in Toronto's budget consultations. My name is Diana Yoon. I live in University Rosedale, and I'm here to advocate for affordable housing. And I am really moved by the lived experience and the stories we've heard. So I am really appreciative of the time that you've spent with us today. I'm a proud board member of the Circle Community Land Trust. It's a nonprofit housing provider that stewards over 600 homes across the city. And many of these homes are in the East End and in Scarborough. So, representing. Toronto is in a housing crisis, as you know. And in this crisis, we have to invest in affordable housing. The most affordable housing we have is the housing we've already got. For example, Circle is now responsible for over 600 single-family homes, and that's the largest portfolio of affordable scattered single-family homes in Canada. Older buildings are really vulnerable in Toronto's housing market because this kind of older affordable housing stock is at risk because they've maybe not yet been renovated, upscaled, or repositioned for higher rents. So once these homes are lost to speculation, they're essentially impossible to recoup. That's why it's critical that the city invests $100 million for the purchase and acquisition of rental homes in this year's budget. This is through the multi-unit residential acquisition program. And so this fund will remove homes from the speculative market, and community-based housing providers will steward them in perpetuity forever, so they remain affordable, not just for the next tenant, but for generations. Renters are struggling. The city knows this. We're seeing an investment in a much needed expansion of the rent bank. Other programs like the fare cap, fare freeze, and air conditioners for low-income seniors, and other things people have talked about will also help to make life affordable. And the root cause of the problem remains. The rent is too high. Yes, some rents are going down across the city, but thousands of people are still struggling. We know that there are more than 100,000 households on Toronto's social housing waitlist. So community organizations like Co-op Housing, Community Land Trust, nonprofit housing providers have clearly demonstrated what it takes to preserve and steward affordable housing, and they're rapidly working to increase their capacity and resources to be able to do more. So I'm adding my voice to the network of the folks asking for an expansion of the multi-unit residential acquisition program. This 2026 budget dedicates $46.8 million to this vital program, approximately earmarked for 300 homes. That's insufficient because in 2024, we saw that there was $102 million invested, and that protected over 700 rental homes that kept tenants securely housed, and those units stay affordable for 99 years, if not more. And so the city must use the levers they have to protect as much affordable housing as possible this year and continue these investments in years to come. My friends, I know musicians and artists and healthcare workers who have moved out of province because of the lack of affordable housing, because they feel stress about their housing situation. For a vibrant, caring city, we need homes that people can afford. And lastly, I want to share the impact that the city's housing acquisition program has made. I know tenants that have banded together in the city of Hamilton to buy a 21-unit apartment. Now, the city of Hamilton is investing in a community housing acquisition pilot, much like Murrah, because Toronto has one. That's amazing. We need to see Toronto continue its leadership as other cities start to be aware of this problem. And we know the federal government is launching a rental protection fund. The city should not be cutting back because the federal government is seeing the success of the program, wants to replicate and scale up. Federal programs take time, and we don't have time. When buildings are put up for sale, Murrah can be the housing hero that tenants need. So, to conclude, housing security transforms lives. Tenants deserve stability. Let's protect our affordable homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I just have a quick one, Diana. If you could do those numbers again, I wish Councillor Perks was here because there's an extenuating circumstance around why the amount appears smaller this year and a demand issue where there'll be more in 27 because there will be more buildings negotiated and ready, but he's not here to answer it. Can you give me those numbers again so that I remember to ask him?
Yeah, our analysis said Murrah was 46.8 million this year.
Right. Okay. Yes.
So yeah, happy to
I was
look.
rushing to try and find it in the note.
Yeah.
Yes.
Happy to, see if there is more money earmarked for future years. We didn't see it, but it's possible we missed it.
Yeah, it wouldn't appear in this year's books, but there is a plan. I just wish I could remember exactly there's a circumstance about why it's 46.8 this year. It has to do not with balancing the budget per se, but they're now right sizing it to the buildings that are ready and then the following year more. But I suspect that because there's so much confusion about it, that what they're going to have to endeavor to do is do a really transparent report to planning and housing to explain how they're now doing it sort of future funding as opposed to trying to catch up with the past. Because there are so many buildings that they're directly in conversation with.
Right.
They're doing it based on a project by project acquisition basis.
Okay.
But we'll get that information. We are going to wrap up on Friday, and Councillor Perks will be in that meeting. If there are any outstanding briefing notes that would help with issues like that would go directly to council for February 10th, we'll have those then.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you very much. And we've submitted a letter. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, is Amaya Achievers here? Welcome.
Hi, good afternoon. Good afternoon, members of council. My name is Amaya Shevers. I'm here today not to politely request, but to demand that you understand the catastrophic consequences of cutting funding for Towards Peace, especially given the reality on the ground of Black youth in Scarborough. We are operating under the city's own violence reduction strategy priorities, which clearly state that reducing harm and victimization must be achieved through prevention, early intervention, community-led collaboration, and culturally responsive supports, not only enforcement. Toronto saw 85 homicides in 2024, up from 73 in 2023, a 16% increase year over year, with most of the increase driven by gun violence and youth involvement. While homicides in 2025 have declined in raw numbers compared with late year 2024, professionals agree the underlying conditions that drive violence remain stubborn. But numbers alone do not tell the story. Recent violent acts in Scarborough make it painfully real. On August 21st, 2025, a 19-year-old man was fatally shot at Scarborough Town Center, and two 17-year-olds were charged with second-degree murder. On August 6, 2025, two teen boys were arrested after a shooting on a TTC bus in Scarborough, where a 14-year-old boy was shot and seriously injured. In May 2025, 5 youth, including a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, and 15-year-olds, were charged in a double stabbing near Scarborough High School. Those incidents all involved youth and young men who were disconnected, unsupervised, and operating outside of any consistent support structure. What programs like Towards Peace do when properly funded is expand cohort size, consistency, and reach. Cutting funding shrinks cohorts, limits outreach, and guarantees the more young people will remain unconnected, unsupported, and at risk. Council, you must understand this plainly. Every dollar removed from prevention increases the probability of the next headline. These are not statistics on a spreadsheet. They are young people with families and futures. The violence reduction strategy, which explicitly commits to the proactive, community-led supports, not only reactive enforcement, intervention and prevention, addressing root causes of gun violence and interpersonal crime, collaborative, culturally responsive solutions that reflect community needs. Now let me be clear about what I mean by prevention. Firefighters keep fires from destroying homes before they start. That prevents harm. Teachers equip children with knowledge that empowers them. Police officers maintain order on the streets. But none of these systems solve the underlying causes of violence or broken social conditions. Programs like Towards Peace do exactly that. They provide mentorship and support, helping youth find identity and guidance. They offer skill trainings and pathways to employment that alternatives like the justice system do not. They interrupt conflict before it escalates, keeping guns out of hands, not only responding after the bullets have started flying. These are not soft programs, they are public safety infrastructure. My uncle was one of those young men caught in a minor incident as a teen, funneled into the school-to-prison pipeline, and left without support until Towards Peace found him. Because of this program, he now believes in himself, in his worth, and his future. That's not an anecdote. That's the impact. Cutting funding for Towards Peace would not save money. It would guarantee higher police costs, more justice system involvement, and ultimately more trauma for our communities. If council members are serious about reducing violence, disrupting cycles of harm, and fulfilling the very mandates of Safe TO, then defunding Towards Peace would be not just short-sighted, but inexplicable. I ask you today, don't make Scarborough's youth pay for budget decisions that ignore reality on the ground. Invest in prevention, invest in hope, and invest in community safety. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, is Nicole Jackson here?
I just want to say that was a great deputation and very well spoken. I don't know if she heard me. That was a great deputation and you're very well spoken.
Welcome. Go ahead, Nicole.
Good afternoon, chair members of the committee. My name is Nicole Jackson. I'm here today as a deputed representative of the Forgiveness Project. I'm here to make a clear argument. Funding for the Towards Peace program must remain on budget and within Scarborough. My relationship with the Forgiveness Project began in 2019 while I was still incarcerated, and it has continued consistently to this day. That long-term relationship matters because effective prevention does not work in short bursts. It works through continuity, before release, during reentry, and while people are actively navigating community pressures. When I came home in late 2022, that support carried forward as Towards Peace program began operating in 2023. It became a critical part of that ongoing support, reducing risk at the exact moment risk is highest. That consistency helped me stabilize, process trauma and loss, and rebuild purpose. It directly contributed to the work I'm doing today, mentoring youth, building community initiatives, and developing leverage, which turns lived experience into prevention and leadership. I also want to say this clearly. I carry loss connected to violence. That loss did not end with me. It is the same kind of loss families in Scarborough are still carrying today. Grief that doesn't make headlines after the cameras leave, and pain that lives on in homes, schools, and neighborhoods long after an incident happens. That lived reality is why prevention cannot be abstract. It is personal and it is urgent. One of the reasons Towards Peace works in Scarborough is how it operates. Many services are based in fixed locations and rely on people coming to them during business hours, when transportation is available, and when trust already exists. Towards Peace operates differently. It is mobile and relationship based, meeting youth and young adults where they already are, whether that's on the block, in the community, and at moments where conflict is still preventable. Violence spreads quickly, and prevention needs to move just as fast. Fixed locations can't always respond in real time to emerging tensions, but Towards Peace can. Prevention that moves can respond faster than violence that spreads. During the summer, I ran a drop-in workshop through Towards Peace in Scarborough, focused on teaching youth how to start something of their own, whether that's branding, small business basics, and creative entrepreneurship. These weren't just skill sessions. They showed young people that they can build identity, income, and purpose in legitimate ways. This leads to my second key point. Towards Peace creates a pipeline from risk to responsibility. I am a direct example of that. I entered this work as someone being supported, and now I contribute back as someone leading, mentoring, and creating opportunities for others. That is return on investment. I watched youth shift their thinking from survival and conflict towards goals and ownership. That redirection is gun violence prevention, violence that doesn't start with a weapon. It starts when people see no future. When you see a path forward, behaviors change. Since the program began operating in 2023, I've personally witnessed conflicts de-escalated and retaliation prevented because Towards Peace was present early and consistently. This is impact that lives beyond that is being redirected and, in some cases, saved. The risk the city faces is clear. If funding is cut out or reallocated outside of Scarborough, the city doesn't just lose a program, it loses mobility, trust, and a proven pipeline that turns risk into leadership. That cannot be replaced by new roles or short-term restructuring. Trust takes years to build and moments to lose. From a fiscal perspective, keeping Towards Peace funded in Scarborough is also the responsible decision. Prevention costs far less than responding to violence through policing, courts, emergency services, and incarceration. So the question before you is simple. Why would we remove funding from a mobile, community-led program that has been working since 2023 and is producing leaders, not liabilities? I urge the city to maintain Towards Peace funding on budget and within Scarborough, and to continue investing in prevention that is proven, trusted, and working. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Jackson, you had there was a turn of phrase in there that I want to remember for this discussion. You said prevention that moves is better than, it was
Yeah,
great.
prevention that moves can respond faster than violence that spreads.
Thank you. I gotta write that down. Thank you. Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay. So counselors, so we're just about at 4:30, so let's just move to extend. We just have two more speakers. Okay. Counselor Chang, did you want to move that motion?
I move that the budget subcommittee extend the meeting to complete the agenda.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And that allows us, we just have two more. One of them is Patrick Merrim. Thank you. Patrick Merrim, and then I have Tukumbo Awe.
Madam Chair,
Good afternoon.
Members of the committee, ladies and gentlemen, the city has given away the collection of recycled items to a private company, which seems will make a profit from the processing of that product. If there is a financial shortfall because of the passing of this item to the private industry, the city will simply pass on the cost to us, taxpayer. You did this in the past. Remember how years ago the police embraced information about motor vehicle accidents, and the said information was sold to interested parties, including the insurance companies. Now the police collect the information only. But a private company embraces the information and sells it to interested parties and pockets a substantial income instead of the money relieving pressure for the taxpayer. Are we now going to get more of the same? But this time, it's worse. This time, members of the committee, your decision flies in the face of the incredible work being achieved by our Prime Minister. While he is out there attempting to counter the negative effects of the US nastiness in their dealing with Canada, you are not helping. We live in Scarborough. I've lived here for about 50 years now. And today I saw my recycling being picked up by a green truck with GFL on the side of it. That's Green for Life. GFL is an Ontario registered company whose head office is in Miami in the US of A. There's an article in today's Globe and Mail about the same thing right here. It's very plain. There's nothing been hidden there. Granted, the workers are here in Canada, but the head office and the executives are in the US, and we all know where the big bucks are paid in these corporations and where the taxes will be paid. The city people who supported the decision to indirectly support President Trump should hang their heads in shame. That contract should have been given to a Canadian company, particularly a company that is paying taxes in the city of Toronto, not to a foreign corporation. And I just want to highlight that for you at this time. Do you have any questions?
Oh, there you go. Are there any questions? Well, yeah, I'm not sure if you're aware that the city didn't initiate the idea of the province doing the recycling. It was foisted upon us.
Oh,
Is that clear to the?
I am well aware of that. It's not
Oh,
the fact. I'm not saying that the fact that the city had to give it out. It's who they gave it to, and what are the circumstances for anything. All of
But as the company they set up is a provincial company, Circular Materials, we don't have any control over the procurement process that they
Yes.
undertook.
No, I understand.
Okay, just
But the problem is that having a piece of paper that says the company was registered in the province of Ontario does not say it's a Canadian company or an Ontarian company. It's a Miami company.
100% agree. 100%. Even when it was a Canadian company, you're kind of, again, it's preaching to the choir. No one here actually voted for our initial solid waste contract to be contracted out to Green for Life. But it is worth noting that at the time they were a Canadian company owned outright and have since been absorbed by a mega conglomerate in the United States. It's one of the arguments against contracting out in the first place, as is really well known to the three counselors sitting here. Once you initiate that first contract, you have no control over what may happen with that corporation in the coming years. So you're highlighting a really good point that is a is a point we raise often. Yeah.
Could I be confident then that the next time that that contract comes up to be signed, it will not go to a company that resides outside the province of Ontario?
Well, I cannot speak for all 25 counselors, and especially not for when that contract comes up, because it'll be in the next term. Any one of us could not be here. So I can't speak to future decisions, and I can't speak for all 25 counselors at any time ever. For instance, the initial contact, I voted against it. My colleagues weren't even on council then. So we don't really have control over the future, but we use our voices, as you are all doing here today, as best we can. Thank you for raising the points.
I'm quite sure that you will be here when the contract comes up for renewal.
I sure hope so. We all hope to. Thank you. Oh, there's an additional question for you.
So just to clarify, so we just wanted to know if you knew that we did not get to choose who is going to pick up recycling in the city of Toronto, that choice was made by the provincial not-for-profit that was created. And that not-for-profit called Circular Materials gets to pick who does our recycling. It was taken out of our hands completely, and we did not agree with that. And now we just have to endure it. So if you are advocating for that contract to be revisited in the future, did you know that that is something that you should perhaps approach an MPP or the premier himself?
And are you suggesting then that the people in the city of Toronto, the councillors, did not speak up that a foreign company should get this?
We did not have the authority to choose who does recycling because the province has taken that authority away from us. So recycling.
Sorry, I may have confused the issue, because Green for Life has a contract with us and they have a contract with Circular Materials.
Yes.
So I may have confused the issue. Their provincial contract, we obviously cannot have control over. But I take your point with respect to our own dealings with
For solid waste management that they do have, that will be revisited likely in the coming year. Yeah.
Green for Life are getting other contracts in the city of Toronto. I saw some of their equipment on McCowan Road there recently when they were going across the road with the water. Anyway, thank you.
Thank
you
you.
for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, and then I have Tukumbo Awe. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Tukumbawe. I am the manager for Community and Family Programs at Malvern Family Resource Center. I'm here today to express my strong support for continued and expanded funding for the Family Wellbeing Program at MFRC in the 2026 budget. This program is not only essential to families in Malvern, but is directly aligned with the City of Toronto's Family Wellbeing Program model, which focuses on prevention, capacity building, and holistic support for families of youth most vulnerable to violence and systemic barriers. In 2025, the Family Wellbeing Program supported over 40 families through our one-on-one service navigation. These supports help parents access recreational programs, educational resources, housing assistance, and mental health services, which are services that families in Malvern consistently identify as high need. One story that illustrates this program's impact is that of a mother raising a nonverbal son with autism. Despite engaging with his school and psychotherapy services, she felt like she wasn't doing enough. Through being a part of the Family Wellbeing Program, the team was able to reassure her and guide her. And through that, she recognized that she was taking meaningful steps already. That shift from self-doubt to confidence was transformative. It strengthened her belief in her ability to support her son's development and well-being. This is exactly the kind of capacity building and confidence building the city's family well-being model calls for. Beyond individual support, the program hosted several workshops, family engagement events that reached over 500 residents last year alone. addressing topics such as parental stress, youth mental health, screen time, and involve different activities, family retreats, art activities, community trips, holiday celebrations. These initiatives reduce isolation, they strengthen family bonds, and build resilience. Again, aligning directly with the city's emphasis on holistic, community-based approaches that increase awareness, improve education, and help families navigate systems more effectively. The city's family well-being pilot program specifically aims to support families of youth ages 10 to 29 who may be vulnerable to violence, systemic barriers, or limited access to opportunities. Malvern is home to many such families, including Black, newcomer, and Indigenous households. These are priority populations identified in the city's model. The MFRC Family Wellbeing Program is already doing this work on ground every day with proven results. In conclusion, I strongly recommend continued funding for the MFRC Family Wellbeing Program. It aligns with the city's family wellbeing framework, meets priority population needs, and delivers measurable impact for Malvern families. Thank you for your time and commitment to supporting families citywide.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none? Okay, thank you. There are no other questions. We need to receive all these deputations. We have a motion. Councillor Chang, did you want to move this motion?
Happy to, that the Budget Subcommittee receive the public presentations on the 2026 capital and operating budgets for information.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That is carried. So this session is adjourned and we will do another session just like it at 6 o'clock. Thank you.